Every other time with Eric, another Airmen special. The treats keep coming, man. I can't even believe this finally happening. I've been trying to set this up also for a while. That seems to be a common theme. I got Captain Patrick Gikandi in the house. How you doing, bro?
Jumbo.
Should I call you by your full? What are your distinctions? Not just Captain anymore. Incoming head of operations, Phoenix.
Yeah,
congratulations, man.
Thank you.
Well done, man.
Still in transition, we're still learning. God is good, so we're just trying to figure that out.
There's a rich history here for the audience. Let me give you context. I've known Captain Patrick, all my life. He's older than me, of course, but I've known him all my life. He's close. How would you say we are? What's the relationship? How would you?
I mean, we grew up together. Our fathers were friends from high school, right?
Oh yes, high school actually. Yeah.
Right? And then all the way into going to university together, all the way into your dad being my dad's best man, all the way into like your dad being my godfather, and like it's insane. Like,
you're a brother, cousin, all in one, man. And our lives have intertwined. That for many years, Patrick has always played also like a second big bro role. You know, someone who's always put me in check. My audience are very familiar with my story, so you're someone who's always been a truth. You know, you don't play gray areas. You know, Eric, you're messing up. You know, there's always that, but again with love. You know, you're always someone who guided me accordingly. You'd always call in to check up on how things are. You still do till today. You've been a huge supporter in my life, so it's such a privilege to have you here. You're someone I look up to, both personal life and also in the career, man. You've weathered the storm to the point of where you are now, man. So to take us to the beginning, man, in terms of your interest in aviation, I know some of our inspirations are common by way of people we saw like, hey, this guy is a pilot. Yeah. This guy seems like a cool guy, you know. So what was your interest? Where does your interest start?
So really, my auntie is the reason why I got into aviation. So my auntie's name is Angela, right? And in the airline KQ, they used to call her Scotchy.
Yeah.
Right? I still don't know why. So I don't know why, but apparently her name was Scotchy. So growing up, when she got into the airline, she would come over to our house in Mombasa. Every time they had a layover in Mombasa, she'd come. And all these pilots would be walking out of our house. And these guys were, they were larger than life. You know, most of them ex-Air Force. And they used to stand tall, chest out, dress well, you know. And I just grew up watching them. My dad used to do some work for people like, what's the guy's name? The guy from Jetlink. Kiran Patel.
Yeah, Kiran Patel.
Yeah,
yes.
Kiran Patel.
Yes.
So back in the day, they had an airline, Kiran Patel, Wendo, and he used to do some work for them down in Mombasa. And so growing up around those guys. And I wanted to be a pilot like right from then. But back in the day, being a pilot was a struggle. The guys were not being paid. The pay was absolutely garbage. So my dad told me, this thing for flying, no.
And this is the GS sector. Of course, the airlines guys were okay, but...
No, even the airlines.
Yeah.
Yeah, my aunt used to tell me how cabin crew at KQ were making more money than the pilots because they would do all this shopping and come back and set up shops and sell. And the pilots were, were pilots.
Yes.
We're not going to do that.
I'm not going to sell.
Start a shop. What do you mean? I'm a pilot.
Yeah.
You know? So, like really until Kalpa, the airline pay was horrific. Those guys were struggling. They were staying at home. They're living in their parents' houses. So my dad told me, this flying thing, no. So I turned my attention over to computers and got into computer programming and stuff. Then my cousin came back from the States and straight into Kenya Airways. He was making bang, you know.
And every holiday, whenever I'd go visit Patrick or they'd come visit us, I remember this guy always had an interesting new career path because, we're cousins, so we'd share. It's like marine biologist.
Biologist.
So I have to go and research. What is that? What the hell is a marine biologist?
Oh, man. So like marine biologist, I think there was a geologist in there somewhere. I just used to let my imagination just run with it. I think at some point I wanted to be a business psychologist studying companies and psychology behind companies. It's just too much.
So your cousin comes back from the States, joins the airline.
Yeah.
And
he is making good money.
There was signs.
So I turned to my dad. I told him, "Hey, dude, surely it's not the same. It's not the same like it used to be." So he said, "Okay, fine. Let's consider it." So a bit of childish pressure, and then he finally let me go to South Africa to do my flying.
Does this change what you decide to pursue in high school, like in terms of the subjects you choose? There's a proverbial geography, physics, math, English.
No, I mean, because I was already in uni at this point.
Okay.
So I'd already done high school, and really, it just was just a career change for me, like a path change for me. So I left uni, straight into flying school, and I got there, and
this is South Africa, right?
Africa, yeah.
Describe that whole experience of leaving Kenya to go pursue your dreams in SA.
I mean, of course, the uncles have to come, right?
Yeah.
The uncles have to be there.
Yeah.
The uncles and the aunties, they all have to come and syndicate you to the airport. Yeah, and they come and they pray over you, and they wish, blessings upon you. And my grandmother was there.
Any side talk about AIDS?
Yes, I think that's like standard now. Right? We pray this boy does not come back with any strange diseases. No foreign children. It's like, wow. Like, I'm just trying to get on this flight. And I mean, you get there. I got there, and we have cousins in South Africa, so we went to stay with them for one night. And then I was going to a place called Nelspruit. Now, Nelspruit.
This is Eastern Cape?
This is in the Kruger and Mpumalanga area. So Nelspruit is this. It's like the Nyeri of South Africa.
Yeah.
It's
shout out Nyeri, man. Shout out to all our Nyeri audience, man.
So Nyeri is the Nelspruit is like the Nyeri of South Africa. I mean, like, it's basically the breadbasket. That's where all your cereals juice comes from. That's where all the farming is done. And I end up in this town, and it's such a backwater town. I mean, like, it's Bundu bashing, There's nothing. But there's a great flying school. And sorry.
It's okay.
Sorry. So I get there, and this owner of the school, his name is Rob Pollock. Amazing guy. Takes me under his wing, I'm like his son, and he's just taking care of me all day, just making sure I study, making sure I'm focused. And the school was fantastic because we had like 4 aircraft, and we were in this airport that was a very small town airport. So it didn't have any scheduled departures, it didn't have a tower, it didn't have anything.
Unmanned.
Completely unmanned, yeah. Exactly. So you just wake up. You pull your airplane out of the grass.
What aircraft are you flying?
That time I was flying a 152.
A Cessna 152. We'll put one on the screen for the audience to see.
Yeah.
It's always important to remember we have seasoned aviators watching. We also have aspiring aviators. We always have to keep them abreast.
That's true. Okay, so 152 is a little 2-seater aircraft. It's a propeller-driven aircraft, piston engine, and it was really, really small. And we're up at like 4,000 something feet. I mean, like, it's high elevation.
Yeah.
So like this aircraft barely performs. And the circuit for this airfield was basically the runway was on a hill, and there were 2 other hills next to it. So you would take off and like basically have to climb and pass very close to these other 2 hills, and then come back. And it was always like a bit of a testing experience.
Yeah.
But it was so much fun. Like, just tons of fun. Weather was a problem also, but because in the mornings it'd be cloud on the hills, but it would clear up, and it was just a lot of fun. You could fly on any day, even on Sunday. You just come out, pull out the airplane, take off, go for a flight. Amazing experience.
Now, the entry level into flying is always exciting for people who are passionate about aviation, but there's always that initial shock when it comes to the curriculum side of things, What was your experience with that, interfacing with now? Because in flight school, it's important to mention that we have the flying element, and we also have what we call ground school, where you have to take classes and capture certain subjects.
Yeah.
What was your entry with that? How was your interface with that?
So a lot of people get into flying. They're like, for lack of a better word, aviation geeks, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they grew up on flight simulator. Even before they're at the school, they know like concepts. They know about lift. They know about
ISA.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they've studied. They've played flight simulator. They have done 730. I had done nothing.
Temperature lapse rate.
Yeah, I had done nothing. I was the most unprepared student pilot. I mean,
Clean canvas.
Clean canvas, exactly. So I think it was all just very new to me. But I remember we had a very good instructor, and we just used to study. And I think at that point in time, my strongest topics were more or less not the aviation ones, the legal ones, so like air law, things like procedures, human factors, stuff that I already knew.
I always find it so interesting just how different people, the subjects that they like. You think, most people hate nav, and then you find guys love nav. Or air law, that's a strange one. I mean, that's a new one. I've not had people say they like air law.
I've loved air law. So my dad is a lawyer, right? And your dad's a lawyer,
Yeah.
and they wanted us to be lawyers, and I was just like, no.
But then what made you not choose that path? Because there was pressure. We had pressure. I mean, someone has to take over the family. I think for me, what took me away from that path was the lack of glam. There was zero glamour, especially in the Kenyan context. You watch Boston Legal and you're thinking everything is Danny Crane.
Yeah.
And then you one day, I remember I was taken to court. My dad took me to with him, and I was like, oh, this is it?
Like, this is not very...
Files on files on files.
Yeah, no.
Respect to what they do, though.
Yeah, shout out, But I think for me, it was just watching my dad build his firm. I mean, the late nights. And like in Kenya, okay, I don't know if it's just in Kenya, but like when you are the name of the firm and you're the talent, that's who the client wants. Huh? They don't want to hear about your associate. They don't want to hear about your partner. They're like, you're the one who we joined this firm for. So in the middle of the night, when that person is stuck, guess who they're calling? They're calling you. Huh? So I remember my dad waking up at like, he'd come home at like 9, 10 o'clock at night. And then a client calls him from Malindi at 1 a.m, drunk, arrested by the police.
Continue.
What?
Just continue.
Oh, yeah. Drunk, arrested by the police. And he would leave the house, get dressed, leave the house, drive to Malindi to go and get this guy out of police cells. Yeah. Like chaos, I was like, that can't be my life. I cannot be waking up in the middle of the night to go and do something for someone. No.
And I think these guys, that generation, a lot of them were workaholics, what we now call in contemporary times.
Yeah.
They were workaholics, man.
Yeah.
These guys took their work home.
Yeah.
Early mornings, late nights was like the norm.
Yeah.
Working on weekends.
Yeah. But also, and this is something I try to, like, I think about a lot, right? So, every family has got generations, right? So like me and you, we're generation 3, right?
Yeah.
So like our grandfathers were generation 1. They educated all their kids. So your kids now are starting from a basis of, we have education up to university level. Right? Then now that generation 2, which is now our parents, they now start to build wealth. So for them, they've come from living with Shago.
Yes.
Now they are trying to build all this wealth. And so they are hungry for it. They want to have houses. They want to leave their kids with more. Yeah. Now we, generation 3, we come out in soft life. Huh? It's soft life. So you're now looking at the situation and you don't have to work as hard.
Even the idea of pursuing a career path, it comes from a certain dispensation.
Exactly, flexibility, options. So it's important to understand that, they look like workaholics, but for some people right now, they're in generation 2, Like some people our age, they're in generation 2.
Yes.
And you see it. So I have a friend called Mina, and Mina is generation 2. And shout out to Mina. We just went for his son's circumcision the other day, and Mina is driven. He has a cleaning company. He and his wife, and they've built this company from zero. They used to work in a bank, and now they own this cleaning company. They're in Kenya, they're in Uganda, they're in I think they're also in Tanzania recently, but this guy has taken himself from shags to Ronda.
Yeah.
You know,
Like rags to butchers to
yeah, you know,
yeah.
like his house is huge. You know, huge house. His kids are all going to great schools. You know, they're driving the best cars. You know, and he's generation 2. So some people, when they look at him, they might be like, "Oh, I guess I'm alcoholic."
That's a very, very interesting perspective and captures it so well because we're all at different, and sometimes you'll find intra-generation, like if someone's generation 3 and 2 or 3 and 1 or 1, you might not get along well because your ideologies are just different. Your outlook is different. Yeah,
exactly. So like where I work, there's a lady, she's generation 1. You know, she's making sure all her kids are going to uni. So you see her like she's just like, no, you know, I have to pay school fees. I've got to do this. Can you help me out? I've got this need. I've got that need. Can you help me out? And it's just because for her, she's like, as long as my kids get an education, I can see them flying these airplanes one day.
Yes.
You know, I can see them flying these airplanes one day. We have another lady who works with us. She's generation 2, right? Her dad works at our company, right? And he came in, he does ground ops, great guy, amazing guy. And he has made sure his daughter's educated, and now she's in operations, you know. So now she's in operations. Now, the hope is that one day she's going to rise. And then her kids, they can be pilots.
Yes,
you know?
yes.
And that's just how it works, you know. So, like, we look at our parents, we're like, oh, man, these guys are alcoholics. But they were literally fighting.
They had to,
yeah. To make sure that we could have what we have, yeah. You know, so, yeah, they were basically workaholics, definitely. But it was for a reason.
So we're also on your interface with ground school. You said how you liked law and...
Yeah, I loved aviation law. I still love aviation law. I mean, I read it. I try to make sure, like, shout out 2024 regulations.
Yes, in fact, we talked about
2021 regulations. We'll see how that goes. I don't know. But yeah, I love the law because it provides safety. You know, when you're within...
It's a backbone.
Yeah, right?
Making sure people's practices... and
best practices and everyone's following the same rules. And... there's just some semblance of order to it. You know, we don't have to argue. We just read the law.
It's always, you can just reference,
Let's read the regulations. Let's read the OEM. It's simple. You know, that's what I love about aviation.
What about the idea of, and of course we're going to come back to the story as we go, but this is an important thing to capture because I always say there's 2 ways of interpreting law. You know, there's someone who's rubbed shoulders with law enforcement and someone who grew up with a father who's a lawyer. There's a letter of the law and there's a spirit of the law. And this comes into play when it comes to capturing things like fatigue management and things like that. I think sometimes we also have to look at what was the law trying to envision. You know, a police officer will read you the letter of the law. You have done this, the law says this, or Danny. Yeah. But I think a more advanced outlook at law matters law is also encapsulating what was this law trying to envision. What were we trying to capture by creating this law? So how do you broach those 2 things? Because it's a big discussion in aviation.
Yeah. So the law is the law, right? And a lot of the times when people start talking about the spirit of the law, I start to cringe a little bit because I start to say, okay, well, in which direction are we bending?
What about let's think positive direction. Like that's why I used fatigue.
But you see, for everyone, there's a positive direction, right? So if you look at a pilot, right, you say, okay, and you have 160 hours of duty time in a month, you have 12 hours of duty time in a day, you know, or if you go international, that's 15 hours. So that's the letter of the law, right? Now you look at a pilot and he says, okay, it's 160. Right? Great. But if I fly and I actually get very close to that 160, I'm exhausted. You know, like you are burnt out.
Yes.
Yeah. So at what point do I now get some reprieve? Yeah. Is it only at the 160? Or should it be after I have had to wake up at 4 a.m. every day for the last 7 days? You know.
In your experience, what's ideal? Because you're a seasoned guy, you've experienced.
What's ideal is that we have the law and then we have safety. Right, and safety is the safety net is there to cover us where the law cannot touch, you know, where the law cannot reach. So, and I'm a firm believer. If you feel like you are unfit to fly, don't fly. That's so simple. I'm unfit to fly. Don't fly. You have X amount of days you can use for sick days. Why are you so afraid of using your sick days? Why are you so afraid of calling in sick?
Well, it depends, of course, on the company that you work for or where you are employed, because sometimes there's legit reason to be scared for using your sick days, because it perhaps may mean your job is on the line. I think perhaps we're privileged. We work for companies that kind of we don't face that challenges.
Yeah.
But I think the wider aviation industry, especially in our context, those are real fears that people actually have. You say you'll call in sick and someone just replace you.
Yeah. And, okay, so funny story. My first job, that's exactly what happened. We were flying an aircraft that had a lot of issues, and we kept raising them, and eventually management just woke up one day and said, "This airplane is too expensive to maintain. We're getting rid of everybody." And we landed, and by the end of that day, like around 10 o'clock at night, we were being told, "You're done. You're fired."
But we'll come back. Right? We'll come back to the intrigues of your entry into employment. But now, moving back to the PPL, your PPL experience. So how you're in Nelspruit, right?
Yeah.
How long before you finish your PPL? What was the experience for solo?
I came with fire. 1 month. 1 month I was done with
even your subjects,
everything.
Yeah.
1 month I had so much zeal, So 1 month I'm done with all my hours. I'm done with my first solo. I think I went solo with about 12 hours. We just had to shore it up with another 2 hours, 3 hours to bring it up to 15.
Yeah.
I did my cross countries.
We keep having legends, eh? Everyone we've had here so far has gone solo under 15 hours. Wow.
Yeah, I
no pressure.
No pressure. I got my PPL at 40 hours.
On the mark.
On the mark. I think it was I had to do an extra 1 hour or something.
Yeah.
So yeah, it happened pretty quick. Now here's where my problems started, right?
So are you giving yourself and this is important because they say there's old pilots. There's bold pilots and there's old pilots, but there's no bold pilots.
Yeah.
And that kind of trajectory, 40 hours on the mark, 12 hours solo, a young man, very easy to start giving yourself a pat on the back, like I'm that guy.
Very fast.
And just for the audience, when we say there's old pilots and there's bold pilots, the whole essence is around machoism and bravado and being a hotshot pilot, because flying is cool, and cool, it's a very sensitive thing to not drink your own Kool-Aid.
Yeah.
And that's a common theme in aviation. People look at us with a lot of reverence. You have to make sure, and figuratively and practically, that your feet are well planted on the ground, because you can be walking on air.
Yeah. I see what you did there.
So 40 hours, your PPL.
Well, so for me personally, I didn't even know it was a big thing. I didn't even know that it was like a thing, like going solo less than 15 hours. I didn't know it was a thing, because I'm out of I have no reference, huh? So I'm just watching the people around me. I'm like, okay, I guess let's continue. But my big issue was that the school was very small. So they used to have an instructor who'd come from Johannesburg whenever there was enough quorum to teach the CPL classes. So now here I am, the guys I joined with, they are way behind. And here I am done, so I'm like, what do I do now?
You nigga trying to hold me back.
Yeah. So they start giving me these exercises to do. Okay, fine, you're going to do 10 hours of straight and level flying at different speeds, so I start practicing that. Then this, then climbing, then turning, then this. And so I did all these different maneuvers, but I just had all this energy. I was like, no, I'm it's too slow. I told my cousin, within 1 year, I'm coming back with my license. He looked at me like, okay. So I tell my dad, I'm like, these guys are too slow. We got to move. So he's like, okay, where do you want to go? I'm like, okay, there's Port Elizabeth and there's Port Alfred, right? So I wanted to go to 43rd. But those days, KQ and all the other airlines, they had...
It was jam-packed, yeah.
Jam-packed.
And of course, priority, because there are many clients at once.
Exactly. So I was told, the next slot we have for you is the next year. So we're in February. They're telling me the next slot is next year in July. I'm like, So I went to Port Elizabeth. Port Elizabeth.
Beautiful city. Describe Port Elizabeth for the audience, man.
Lovely city, small, not a very big city, small city, and it's almost like a uni
College
city.
town.
Yeah, college town. It's all built around NMMU. I don't know if it's still called NMMU.
And Nelson Mandela Metropolitan University. Yes,
yeah, exactly.
Windy city.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very windy, very windy. I mean, like 25, 30 knots sometimes.
Yes,
it's chaos. But then I ran straight into the Kenyan crew in Port Elizabeth.
Did Gondwanas exist yet?
Huh?
Gondwanas club.
It was yeah. It was and captains.
Captains right below.
Yeah, right
below. My God, the
Yeah.
guys who've trained in South Africa, that must be a TBT, man. Gondwanas, captains.
The Kenyan hangouts. Where?
So are you saying that it now from already the initial sentiment from your statement would mean that the fringe kind of distant city was doing you well?
Very well.
And here you've come now, you're finding, college town, you're a young guy, you're a PPL holder.
Right, meeting my friends, now for guys who've gone to university in South Africa.
This is very important, and I don't want us to skim through this specific season because there are many guys right now who are aspiring aviators, and sometimes people have a disconnect between the effort required to actually pursue this thing to the very end and the potential distractions. And a big one usually is you get so high on the finished product. I want to be that guy who's a captain and I can buy a round for everyone.
Yes.
So while in flight school, you start living like that's already happening, and of course it ends up affecting the more important story. So describe this and how you navigated it.
Did I navigate it? I don't think I really did. I mean, it was like instant distraction. Instant. From day one. I landed. First of all, in fact, the reason why I even picked Port Elizabeth was the wrong reason. I picked it because of a girl.
Wait a minute.
Worst reason in the world. I mean, I picked it because of this girl. We had been talking online. We'd been chatting. And I knew a bit of Spanish, and she was really fluent in Spanish.
Hola.
¿Cómo está? So I'm here, and I'm like, okay, where do I go? Do I go Port Elizabeth? Do I go Port Alfred? Do I go to Grand Central? In Pretoria.
Yeah.
And I literally picked this town. I changed my path because of this girl, right? And so I land in Port Elizabeth, straight to the crew house, dump my bags, get into a taxi, straight to the girl's house. Nimefika.
Yeah.
I'm here, And this girl is like, you came.
You came for real.
Yeah, for real.
I was joking.
Really. Yeah. She's like, hey, man, so listen, there was another guy I was talking to.
Oh.
Shout out to Kenyan girls and character development, man. There's another guy I was talking to, and he came through last night.
Oh.
Like, he said...
One night too late.
One night too late. You went, come Jada. Come ifika Jada.
So you knew about roster before roster.
I was like, okay, Salah, no problem. So now I'm in this town that I've picked, and the person I picked it for is with somebody else. So I'm like, well, time to explore, right? So started running into people that I knew from back in Kenya.
So are you not even going to school to start like the hour building side because you finished PPL?
Bro, I landed on a Friday. It was Friday night. We started with the bar, so straight to the bar.
Yeah.
Now we're drinking with guys. We're drinking, meeting people, drinking. And that is just how the path started to deviate, man. Like just the wrong direction. Now you're more focused on partying and hanging out and where we're going and what are we doing, and it's more social.
Is this a heartbreak factor or just the environment as well, or both?
Just the environment. I mean, like honest to God, like I knew this girl. She was cute, but I didn't know her.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't carnal.
Yeah.
So I was like, now it's just to find out what, because I've been for the last 2 months or 3 months. I've been so focused.
Yeah.
Now I'm enjoying myself.
Let
me enjoy myself a little bit. I need to get back.
Oh, and SA has that to offer.
Hey.
But then I always look back, hindsight. Of course, the advantage of age maturity.
Yeah.
When you think about Port Elizabeth, if you actually have the maturity, and I say this to anyone who's about to go there for aviation or for flying or for uni even, you have the perfect chance to have such an amazing experience, as well as more importantly, of course, to pursue education and actually have such a beautiful experience. If you balance the two really well,
Very true.
it's such a nice place. I sometimes commend my former air school mates, guys, some of them were in KQ now. That balancing act that they did, they ended up enjoying PE for what it was and accomplishing, because you can also get some of the best flying in. Night crossos, your crosswind technique.
Crosswind technique, everyday crosswind. No, yeah, man. I mean, it was such an amazing, and you have Port Alfred is just there.
George.
You have, I mean, you could go anywhere. I mean, it's not like here where
Grahamstown.
Yeah. I mean, just amazing experiences, but you have to be focused.
So how long do you stay in PE before?
I was there for, 2.5 years. 2.5 years. So 2.5 years. Flying is no problem. I'm doing my flying, right? The problem is the studying, or the lack thereof.
The lack thereof, yeah.
Yeah.
And for exams, for aviation exams, I keep saying this. I think, and you can share your philosophy, because I think exams are a barrier of entry. It's just an ROI, rite of passage. Because what they're trying to test is, do you have what it takes to focus enough, pass this however many 8 exams?
Yeah.
In 3 months, same exams you probably not pass. But if you have what it takes to hunker down, pass these exams, in the future we can give you an aircraft manual and we know, you have what it takes.
You'll understand it.
Yes.
And then also, another thing to remember is, a lot of the concepts that you learn in flying school, they become the basis of your knowledge in the aircraft that you're flying.
Absolutely.
Right? So when you look at something like Air Technical General, when you start talking to you about hydraulic systems, hydraulic systems are any liquid-based motor pump system in the aircraft. That knowledge starts from your CPL.
Yes.
If you don't have it, you don't have it.
Yes.
Yeah, and this is a common challenge in the FAA, right? In the FAA, the exam banks are very simple. You have these books, you just study the books and that's it. But the reason why you have to have a university degree to join an airline in America is because they know that the level of learning that people are doing in the flying schools is insufficient.
Also, the foundational knowledge is sometimes skimmed over.
Exactly. So the airlines will not even talk to you without a degree. They're like, okay, so what degree do you have? Because they know that the level of knowledge that you're getting in those flying schools is not enough. And I'm telling you, man, I mean, I remember my first jet simulated training event. A guy was there with me, and he had no understanding of concepts like Mach tuck, high-speed stalls. He did not know them.
You never come across them.
Never come across them. And he was a military fighter pilot. We used to fly a smaller jet, and now he's transitioning to a larger jet.
Wait, are you saying that the military, or rather Air Force ground school, whatever programs they run, are deficient?
No. This was he was from the Dominican Republic, right? But they are under kind of like the same FAA kind of like practices, simple exams, just get them out of the way. You do one paper, it's done. They don't do, because in the FAA they don't do 8 exams. You do one exam.
One composite paper.
One composite paper, it's done. Yeah. So and you have the data bank, so you just study the data bank.
Yeah.
So they really they hedge on experience and not really knowledge. And whereas in Europe they hedge on knowledge, not really experience. So you find Ryanair 737 captains, 21 years old, 25 years old, very young captains. Whereas when you go to the States, you will not find an airline captain.
Where is the sweet spot? Because that's a conversation that has come up. And I call it good to know, need to know.
Yeah.
And I interface with that Western philosophy around concepts and grasping things about flight safety philosophy. It's a good match. It's a good mix of, this is very important to know, but also this is not necessary for you. So where is the sweet spot? Because 21-year-old 737 captain, I would imagine if things were to really go awry, where that real experience is needed, that could potentially pose a challenge, So between that and the other extreme of now, someone is very experienced but not knowledgeable. Yeah. So how do we mesh those two philosophies? Well, I think that would end up with the ideal pilot,
Yeah, but now the problem is who's going to wait around for all that time? You know, like now you're going to make me go to school, study like crazy, right? And then you're going to make it so difficult for me to join the airline that I'm only getting into this airline when I'm like in my 30s. Like, who's going to wait around? Already in the States, that's a challenge, right? The States right now, they have the challenge that they're having is getting new pilots because the barrier of entry is experience, and it's so high, you know. And just because of Colgan, you can't join an airline without less than 1,000 hours.
Yes, 1,500.
1,500, yeah, exactly, and that's because of Colgan, right?
Colgan, when he says Colgan, is a specific incident that happened.
Yeah.
If you can find that on Air Crash Investigation, Mentor Pilot, we'll just put like a snippet on the screen so that you can see that. But that incident had to do with more than just
100%.
There was so much more there at play.
Yeah. So like, even if in fact both pilots had more than 1,500 hours.
Yeah.
Anyway, so it didn't actually do anything, but it made them feel better. You know, so you make the barrier of entry so high, then you make me have to study like crazy. And people are going to be like, there's easier careers to get into. Well,
DoorDash.
Yeah, you know, exactly. You know, you got to do something else.
So 2.5 years is a long time. I'm sure you got some good hours in.
Not really. I mean, I did hour build. I got most of my hours there.
And there's no shame. I have a similar story. If not, mine is even more dramatic.
No, so like...
So what stories are you telling home? Because I remember that incongruent feeling of the narrative you're telling at home vis-a-vis the reality, man.
Right.
And it just gets worse with every day.
Yeah. So for me, my big challenge was, number one, we had the post-election violence, right? So already my dad's a lawyer. People aren't really spending money. So he's having like cash flow issues, right? So already the flying is slowing down. So he told me, focus on the studying, right? Focus on the exams. But man, I just could not focus. I mean, I was having too much fun. I was just out partying.
I remember your Facebook posts.
Yeah, right? Like chaos. You know, like cars with trunks full of alcohol.
Yeah.
You know, weekend trips.
Road trips, I remember.
Yeah. And then our school did not help. Our school had a system where if you did not have money, like if you needed money, you could go and withdraw money from your flying account. So it started with my dad not sending money. So he doesn't send money, and I have no money to pay rent. I have no money to do that. So he tells me, you know, there's like 100,000 in the school account. Just go withdraw a little bit, pay your rent. So you go and you do it. You withdraw a little bit, plus your allowance. You know, go pay the rent.
Kindly furnish me with
yes,
this.
You know? and these guys were like a bank, 10%, like whatever you withdraw, 10% they're keeping.
Oh.
You know, so you take the money, then it issues. You're like, I'll just go and pinch a little bit, and pinch a little bit, and you keep pinching, and in that way you just keep having money, you know, to just enjoy yourself. We had this guy in our school. His parents paid from start to finish PPL, CPL, 3 times.
Oh my goodness!
The guy withdrew the money
from which country? Which country?
He was like half Nigerian, half Bolivian.
And here's a very fantastic thing about getting the privilege to go train abroad. You meet guys from all over the world, and Nigerians were famous for deep pockets. Libyans.
Hey.
Oh my goodness! These guys, man, they when you're there with your measly allowance, this guy's the cash flow was endless.
Guys are buying cars. The Nigerians, I remember there's a Nigerian who, he felt like he was being discriminated. He was an instructor. He felt like he was being... Him and his boys, they bought an airplane.
Wakashikana wakanunua ndege.
Yeah, exactly. We're just going to do our own training. It's okay. It's fine. Because I refuse. It's okay. It's fine. They bought their own airplane. They do their own cross countries, build their hours, you know, and then they come back to the school just for the exams, you know. So yeah, I mean.
So where did the end of those challenges? Like, of course, at some point maybe you've run out of chums and you have to now make tough decisions.
So I remember my dad basically gave me an ultimatum. He said, "Okay, look, this thing it's not working, right? You're not making. The money is still a problem. You're not passing your exams. So we need to shift." So I told him, "Okay, fine. You know, I've got one more exam sitting. If I don't pass this time, I'm coming back to Kenya." He said, "Okay." I studied, and I studied, and I studied, and I just missed the mark by one exam. Remember, you had to pass 5 exams for them to carry forward.
Yes.
Yeah. So I just passed 4. And I said, It's done. It's done. Right? Packed up all my stuff, left. Came back to Kenya with my tail between my legs.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was a humbling moment.
And important to mention at this part of the story because he's the head of incoming head of operations at a very reputable company. So the path is not always just straight. Yeah. Challenges are par for the course. It's very important to mention, and especially in our industry, man. It seems maybe it's a spiritual thing where they're just like, yo, this dimension, you don't just come like that.
Yeah. I know, but like you said, so maybe you were right. Maybe I was drinking my own Kool-Aid. Because I mean, surely 1 month to finish everything. Now I'm here. I've got these exams. I'm like, the last time these exams were so easy.
Yeah.
I'm sure this was passed very quickly, and I just kept failing. So now I'm humbled. Now I come back to Kenya, and then my dad just puts me in the corner. He just tells me, "You come to Mombasa, you just sit here while we figure this thing out. You just sit here, we figure this thing out." So I'm in Mombasa. And doing nothing, like we're not talking about flying, we're not talking about anything. It's like just sit there.
And as a real aviator, there's something depressing about not having access to flying. You long for it. You see a plane. At some point, you don't even want to look up because it reminds you of what you were doing and now that you're not doing. And I know what that feeling is like.
Yeah, well, like the thing about Mombasa at least is that you don't see airplanes that often, like when you're in Nyali, right? But I used to think about it. It's be like, oh my goodness, I was so close. Like I'm sitting here on like 180 hours, like
short finals.
Yeah, I only have 20 hours left to finish this thing. So my dad tells me, okay, after like about 8 months, he tells me, okay.
Are you behaving yourself for this season?
Yeah. I'm at home. I'm not drinking. I'm focused.
Top of the morning.
Yeah, I'm helping him at his office. I'm driving him around. Like, okay, fine, things have stabilized. Let's try and get you back into this thing. So I came to Nairobi. I was staying in a hostel called Kafoka.
I remember these days.
Mada, right?
Around the time when I was just getting my entry into flying, I remember. Yes.
Yeah.
I should have taken your demeanor to mean a lot because I remember you looking at me like, you guys, if you don't style up.
Yeah. I knew what I was talking about. I was from the same journey. But sometimes we have to fall into our own holes.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So that's why remember the other day we were talking about our licenses. And your license number is
6684.
668, and mine is 6852.
Yeah.
So like our license numbers are only like 200 apart. Because literally that's when I came back to Kenya and I got a Kenyan license for the first time.
So you had to convert your your PPL to a Kenyan PPL.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then you can only do that while your South African license is valid.
Yes.
You can't do it when your South African license is no longer valid.
Lest you have to get an SPL, a student pilot license.
Yes. No, not even that. You still have to get an SPL. Yeah. To do the few hours to now do the GFT for the PPL, but they will not convert a license that has expired.
Yes.
Even if it's just by a day.
Yes. I remember that.
They will not renew it. They will not convert it. So literally, I've been in Mombasa for not really a year, but almost like 8 months or something. So my license is just about to expire. So now we're on the clock. You're going KCA, getting the paperwork, doing this, doing that. You do the 6 hours, Kenyan license. We're good. So now we're back to the exams. Now it's a struggle.
Are they making you do all the exams or conversion paper?
No, I have to do a conversion paper for the PPL.
Yeah.
And I have to do all the exams for the CPL.
Oh, yes.
So I didn't come back to the CPL. I came back to the PPL.
All 8.
All 8.
So,
and now I have to learn the Kenyan ones. And the Kenyan ones are hard.
Yeah, they're hard.
Yeah, they are hard. Hey, you pass those Kenyan exams.
Because if you've passed your CPL Kenyan exams, but you're a maestro.
You're a maestro. Once you do the ATPLs, big up yourself, So now it's the start.
Are you doing ground school for this or self-study? What do you decide?
Self-study. So and I usually study best by myself. So just self-study, reading exams, reading exams, and then we start doing the exams. Pass 3. Now it was pass 3, and then you do
pass 4. It was pass 4.
Pass 4
because it's 8.
Pass 4, yeah. But now, so in South Africa, the pass mark was 70%. But in Kenya, the pass mark was 75%.
No, it's actually the other way. 75 SA, 70 Kenya.
70 Kenya.
Yeah.
Okay. So now we're doing the exams. trying. You pass 3, you pass another 2. Oh, but you have to pass them in 5 sittings, right? So you pass the first 3, then you have 4 more sittings to pass the remaining exams.
Yeah.
So now you're reading. You pass 3, pass 1, pass 1, pass 1. You now have to 1 sitting, 2 exams. Pass 1.
And this time exams are still being done at IASA, right?
Yeah.
I remember those days, man.
And those exams were hard.
Guys convening in the car park during the halftime break, scratching their heads, looking at data, man.
Yeah, it was a ghetto.
Thank God, right now in the Kenyan context, a huge thing that has changed for the better is that now, at least for exams, credit is a credit, and the argument was, if a doctor can get a credit, why not a pilot? What is this threshold about? So that has since changed, and of course, I think that's a huge improvement in terms of how we look at exams.
Yeah.
So eventually, you eventually finish, and I remember the day you finished because you posted, and I remember I called you, and you're like, "Now what are you doing, man?" To celebrate, like, "Yo, man, I'm just here with my crisps. I have it's like you are so
I was just
storm is over.
Because once those exams were done, it was just sprint. Now it's like do the multi-IR.
What did you fly for multi?
Baron.
Beechcraft Baron. I also did.
Beechcraft Baron.
55.
58. Yep.
Wait, Alpha Papa. Which one did you fly?
I flew
Bravo Papa Charlie. I flew that as well.
Yeah.
A Baron. So for the viewer, multi-engine, of course, flying an aircraft more than one engine. Instrument rating, flying without reference to outside.
Yeah.
Short course, but it's a huge leap from just a commercial pilot license. And what this allows you is to actually now be able to fly commercially for the bigger airlines. Any aircraft that has more than one engine. So it's a fun time. Aircraft is faster. What was your experience on the Baron? Moves, man.
It moves. It's a beast. I love that aircraft. Till this day. I love that airplane.
Did you enjoy the instrument side?
The instrument part of it was,
Route 1,
I
Route
didn't
3.
find it that hard. I find a lot of people find it, but I didn't find it that hard.
I think ideologically it's hard until you start it. You're like, okay, this is not hard. But before the fact, IR, instrument flying, man. But once you start, it's like, yo, this is actually easier.
Yeah, but also remember we did the night ratings in South Africa, right? And that was a little bit of instrument.
Oh yes, VR to VR.
Yeah, VR to VR, intercepting. How to look at radials, how to place yourself on the map. So already some of that was already in me. So I was like, it's okay. But yeah, I think the hardest part of it was just managing the aircraft. Strain level flight, rate 1 turns,
asymmetric circuits.
Yeah, asymmetric circuits. Yeah, that kind of stuff. But did we ever do asymmetric circuits? You did asymmetric circuits?
Did we do it? I don't know if we did. I don't think so.
No.
I think I remember, but that's a concept that's done mainly in coastal cities.
Yeah. Because that Baron, you could barely fly straight and level.
Yeah.
Single engine. I mean, like you had Blue Line. Blue Line is you explain it. You're better at explaining these things.
No, it's okay. The speed, it's like a reference speed that you should not go below on the multi-engine. Yeah. We use it mainly for approaches. I remember Blue Line on finals. Yeah,
exactly. And so, do you know why it's there?
Why it's there?
Yeah. Like now you fly the Q4, right? Is there a blue line in the Q4?
Mm-mm.
So why is there a blue line in the Barons?
I'm not sure. Like remind me.
So the aircraft is so short, right? The arm is so tiny that if you go below the speed, you might not have enough airflow over the rudder to correctly hold the asymmetric engine, right? So the whole point is to be above the speed so you have enough rudder authority to actually keep the airplane flying straight. Below the speed, you don't have enough and you might actually just roll over and splat.
Yeah, interesting.
Right?
Okay. That has rung a bell, man. That's a long time ago, man. Like the Barons many years ago.
No worries.
So after multi, what was your entry into now commercial flying
So
the journey begins now. We've just finished the crazy flight school journey.
No, we're not yet done. So, when the way our parents' friends are, they're in the golf club. Oh, Eric, you're going to be a pilot. I know Captain so and so. He owns this airline. You finish you've got a job. You know, oh, I know. So and so MD of which airline, you finish, you've got a job. Don't worry. When you finish, you come talk to me. So there I get my CPL and I run back to Mombasa, straight to Nyali Golf Club. Uncle, look, I have it.
Yeah.
So when do I start work? Yeah, no. So let me call him on Monday. I'll let you know. Cool. You wait Monday. I call him today. No, it's Tuesday. Surely it's Wednesday. Uncle, so what did he say? He was very busy. I didn't get a hold of him. But let's try it. Let's try on Friday. Okay. Friday turns into another Friday. Turns into another Friday. Turns into another Friday. Turns into huh? Nothing is happening. I'm like, what? Here's the license. Nothing is happening. So I remember that point in time, I got really lucky. I got onto that Juliet Lima, our building story in South
Juliet
Sudan.
Lima was, the caravan.
Yeah, the caravan for Lady Lorry, right? The G1000.
Yes.
So, yeah, I went out there. Shout out Captain Nui. Taught me everything I knew about flying. Actually flying.
Yeah.
And handling passengers and handling this and weight and balance and all that. So we flew the.
And this, let's not skim over this. This seems to be although things are changing now because demand for pilots is a bit higher, but in this specific season, maybe from the 2009 there to about 2000 and past, just pre-COVID, in Kenya, in the Kenyan context, the rite of passage tended to be caravan. Once you finish air school, even if you have a multi, the immediate available jobs were always caravan.
Yeah.
And at least you're lucky you went to come in like Lady Lorry. A lot of guys end up in either South Sudan and you're literally almost backpacking to get hours,
Yeah.
Asking this guy, can I fly Kesho? Can I fly Kesho?
But that was me with the Lady Lorry. That's what it was. You were there for a month. Luckily, Lady Lorry, you didn't have to pay for your own accommodation because you had the crew house. But yeah, you were just sitting there, just trying to build as many hours. And some people were there for 6 months. They refused to leave. Yeah, just until they got enough hours, on the aircraft. So
Describe Juba.
Juba. If chaos was a place, it should be Juba. Where?
I had some of my best adventures flying in Juba, man. Every day was like an adventure, man. Especially into the government side areas and the rebel side areas. And the rebel side areas, of course, were not as well maintained. So it was always an adventure. You land and then you're taxing, you're having to navigate the runway before you stop, like, because there's a capot hole there.
So your experience and my experience are very different.
Jungle jets.
Your experience and my experience are very different. For me, day one, we're flying with Captain Nui. We're carrying a load for the South Sudanese military, and we were pretty heavy. I mean, we were heavy, and we had fuel for all of our sectors and everything. And then we land in the first location and we drop off a little bit of the load, and then this general comes out of nowhere, and he's like, "Hey, you're taking my 8 soldiers to Nairobi, to
Juba."
And then we're like, "Dude, we have like 4 other stops to make. Huh? We can't. We're too heavy." I was like, "No, you're taking my soldiers with you to Juba. You're going to do all your stops and take them to Juba." The captain's like, "No, we will not do it."
And can you explain for context? Because in that environment, they don't rate foreigners, man.
Yeah,
it doesn't matter whether you've come for what level of education, what stature you think you have back home.
Yeah.
Provided you're a foreigner there.
That's it. Yeah, that's it. The Sudanese and it's everybody else, Hey, so now the captain is refusing. He's trying to call the guys back, the military back in Juba, telling them this guy's a problem. The guy grabs me by my belt, hoists me, and says, "My friend."
And those guys are big.
Yeah, if you don't carry my people, this guy is sleeping in that cell. And it's pointing to a chicken wire cage out in the middle of the apron. And it's hot. It's hot. It's hot. So imagine, man, I'm going to be sleeping. I'm going to sit in this thing the whole day. I'm done. Hey, it was.
I tried negotiating. When you say I had a different experience, I tried negotiating landing fees because I kept asking. I had this idealistic, naive outlook. I'm like, we're paying this $100. It's not my money, it's the company's, but we're paying this $100. You guys are refusing to clear that place there. So at some point I was like, we're gonna pay 50. Yeah, bro, I was held for 2 hours. I was held for 2 hours.
You learned.
Yeah, like what are you talking about?
This is how things work here. Yeah, it was chaos. I mean, where? So yeah, it was fun. Definitely, there was definitely some interesting experiences, but the chaos was just too much for me. I don't like chaos.
How many hours did you get to log in South Sudan?
Like about 100. So this is like the flat. 100.
You flew BUC as well, no?
BUC
with
no.
Peter?
No. I flew
or Lex.
I flew Lex. Yeah. It wasn't even with Peter. It was with. No, it was with Peter.
Yeah.
It was.
I remember the picture. I remember it vividly.
Yeah.
Remember, I was always watching your career path because I was like, even I want to.
Yeah.
Even I want to. So by the time you were in Juba, I was either just a PPL holder or just entering CPL.
You were a PPL holder entering into CPL.
Yeah, so I was following your journey very closely.
Yeah. Then our building is done, I came back to Kenya. And now still nothing's working out. There's there are no jobs, there's nothing. More context, this is the time when Jetlink went down, right? So now, Jetlink had 80 pilots? So 80 airline pilots, jet-rated, into the market.
So they're competing versus...
versus me and...
You have your 100 hours on type.
I mean, surely. Who is the company going to take? And we're all going for the same salary. No one is going for anything extra. So, I mean, I went into instructing. That's not when I ran into you now in the school.
Yes.
Remember?
Yes.
At Skylink.
Yes.
Right? So, and I think I was teaching human performance and air law and procedures at the time. And... tried, man, we had some rock star instructors, right? I mean, like Ken Jarani, we had what's the guy's name? Innocent, right? Those guys were making bank instructing. They were making a lot of money. So I was like, hey, I want to get some of this. It was not for me either. I got one student. Damn. They barely showed up. I barely made any money.
Do you think there's a cultural thing because in SA, they are career instructors,
Yeah.
The guys who enter aviation with the intent to instruct from start to finish. Some of those CFIs they're seasoned guys, but they've been instructing all their lives.
Yeah.
In Kenya, that culture doesn't exist. I don't think I've found a career instructor where someone is like, I'm an instructor and I want to instruct, in a flight school at least, from start to finish.
Well, but also look at the way the flight schools work here. I mean, the flight schools in Kenya are kind of like... The students don't even belong to the schools. The students belong to the instructors. So there's a proper cartel, where the instructor has, these are my students. And if he has a problem with the school, he tells the students, we're moving. And suddenly the school loses 10 students. So in South Africa, the students are for the school, right? You will fly with whoever you're assigned to fly with. And that's it. And the instructors it's ensured that the instructors maintain the same level of training, the same quality. But here it's like...
That has since changed, I must tell schools, because nowadays to shift schools, there's a whole procedure. You can't just... Because of such things. There are guys who left with the entire schools and started their own schools.
Their own schools,
So I think at some point the regulator had to step in and create some checks and balances around that.
Yeah.
So things are a bit more civilized now with respect to that. Yeah,
that's good. Because, I would know.
So you instruct flight instructor as well?
Yes.
For how long?
For basically about a year, and it isn't working out.
Yeah.
So then I'm like, okay, I'm done. Like I've given this my best shot. My dad is on my neck. Dude, so what's next? Why don't you go back to uni? In the meantime, go back to uni.
So the money was not even enough to sustain you entirely.
At all.
One student will not.
It was enough to maybe
buy pizza.
Exactly. Buy pizza, buy a drink here and there, but not to do anything meaningful, So my dad then tells me, why don't you go back to uni? So I'm like, okay. So I go back to Daystar. try to shift my credits from USIU to Daystar. Some of them make it through, some don't. And now we're in uni. And
So you've shelved the flying career?
Completely. It's on the bench. Like, I'm done. I don't even want to look at an airplane. So we're just focusing on school. I'm actually doing well now this time, because now whatever impatientness was in me is now gone.
And you're not missing it? The bug is not just there looming?
It's honestly,
you've reconciled?
I've just reconciled. Okay. A whole year, after all of the promises, all the, how I thought things were just going to work out. It's done for me. I'm done. So, uni, a year, and then a friend of mine, Hassan, Captain Hassan Bulhan, he looks for me and he tells me, hey, look, I'm about to become a captain on this airplane and I want to bring you in. I want you to be my first officer if you're interested in flying. And man, I am here today because of Hassan. Like, it wasn't for him.
He brought you back.
He brought me back, yeah. And I went to my parents and I'm trying to convince them. My dad's like, are you sure he's not going to let you down? I'm like, no, Dad, I trust him. It's going to work out. Hey, my mom is like, nope.
And I know Captain Hassan is since deceased. He's also a school alumni, high school.
Yeah. St. Mary's. Huh?
Yes.
Yeah. Giant, it's big, he didn't have a big personality, but he was doing big things. You meet other people who have big personalities. They talk loud, they talk big. He was just like
subtle
guy, but doing big things. We have a most hilarious thing. You know what height monitoring is?
Height monitoring.
Height monitoring. Yeah. So aircraft are flying to RVSM in
RVSM.
Okay. Let's start from the beginning.
The SPL guy, RVSM.
So aircraft that fly above 29,000 feet that's RVSM altitude. So reduced vertical separation minimum altitudes. Basically, to fly above this altitudes, you can fly 1,000 foot apart, but your aircraft has to be configured a certain way, and you have to have made sure that everything is working. One of the things you have to make sure is working are your altimeters. They have to be accurate with each other and accurate to the actual altitude, right? So they have to be properly calibrated and accurate to each other. So before, when you wanted to do RVSM height monitoring, you could only do it in Europe or South Africa. So KQ, whenever their planes would go to South Africa, they do the height monitoring. Whenever planes would go to Europe, they do the height monitoring. But there was nowhere to do it in Africa. Nowhere.
There was no dispensation too? Or?
No, there's just no facility.
Okay.
You had to either go to South Africa or go to Europe. Hassan looks at the situation and says, this is bullshit, right? There has to be a better way to do this. So he gets in touch with the guys who do the height monitoring. He says, I want to do this in Kenya. What can we do? They're like, okay, so there's only two ways to do it. Either you have to put a ground station, or we can sell you this portable unit. You put it in the airplane and you do the check. He's like, how much is the portable unit? He buys it, gets all the certifications, puts it. A man solo. Now, African Express is doing height monitoring for Kenya Airways.
Wow.
Because of him, right? That's what I mean when I say not a big personality, but doing big things.
Yes.
Just a silent professional, just working, Like, he was so inspiring.
I remember him, a legend, man.
Yeah.
Those are reverence about him.
Yeah. Didn't drink, didn't smoke, didn't just proper on his deen, like a good Muslim, like a good friend.
So he calls you, and what fleet does he want you to fly?
No, so he's going to the Embraer 120, so he's offering me the Embraer 120, right?
We'll put an Embraer 120 on the screen so people can see. It's better even if you have a picture, share of the Embraer.
I have many pictures. Okay. I will share.
Okay.
I will share. So there we are. I'm trying to convince my parents, hey, can we do this? And my mom is like, absolutely not.
What's her reasoning? Why not?
Her reasoning is, listen, you tried the flying thing. You tried. It did not work out. Now you're going to university, so you just focus on this thing. You maliza university, then you can try the flying thing later. And I just said, but something in me was just telling me no. And
is that the inner aviator? that we all have. That thing, man, whenever you try shelf aviation,
It comes back.
it's there.
Yeah.
It's looming.
But that voice, it wasn't strong enough.
Yeah.
But my wife's mother, at that time she was my girlfriend. My wife's mother, she was adamant. She was like, no, you have to go back into flying. I'm like, no, but it didn't work out. It didn't do this. This didn't work out. She's like, no, Patrick. Whatever God has put in your hands, that is what you need to use. And He's put this in your hands. And I was like, and I tell her to this day, she's the one who inspired me to get back into flying. Because she was adamant. Like, she was like, no. Forget about you. You can do university later. You try this one first again. So my dad says, talk to your mom. Whatever much she's willing to contribute, I'll put up the rest. So I talked to my mom, and she says, this is the much I'm willing to sort you on this thing.
Yeah.
So my dad is like, okay, puts up the rest. So I had to renew my CPL. I had to renew my instrument rating. I had to renew my multi.
Talk about renewals, man, because renewals is a harrowing process.
Especially not flying.
And I went through this for many years. When you're trying to keep your licenses current without a job, the cost implication, when the time is just, you literally see the clock just coming, like, I have a month to go, I need to do 6 hours.
6 hours.
Sometimes you're rusty. Maybe you came back with a bit of rust.
Right.
And the longer you stay away from flying, in as much as you really want to fly, you start feeling like, can I really fly? Can I still remember how to fly? Like, there's like a disconnect.
Yeah. So I had to do my 6 hours. And then after I did my 6 hours in the Baron, Marcus, that's 45,000 shillings an hour.
Yeah, it's quite a cost. It's now double by the way.
Yeah.
It's like 90 G's.
Yeah. Jeez.
So the economy, that's the industry, man.
Economy, bro. Economy.
Double.
Yeah.
Because I did my multi, it's not been 20 years, you guys. It's been like...
Yeah, but bro, back then the dollar was 75,
Man,
80, bob. Now the dollar's like 130, right?
130,
so it's like, even the dollar's doubled, right?
Yeah.
So, I do the 6 hours, then I do the CPL, GFT, or renewal, and then I check, and then I do the multi-check. So by the time we're done with 8 hours, of just getting the licenses sorted, and then then now I have to go for a simulator. For the one
for your rating.
Yeah.
Tell people what a rating is.
Okay, so a rating is basically the authorization to fly a particular airplane. Yeah. So you go, you do all the training, and then the government gives you the rating. The rating now says this person is rated to fly this aircraft, and it is almost aircraft specific.
Aircraft, yeah.
Yeah, almost. But because you also have family ratings.
Yes,
right? So you're on the dash family.
Dash things.
You can fly 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah.
Right? The Umbrella 20 was just the 120. That was it, right? So the rating was what? The rating was 1.4. So I was like, so now already out.
That's like hedging all your bets, like I'm
all in. All in.
Yeah.
Hey, it was stressful.
How was the training? Because initial ratings are tough.
Yeah, no, but the training was fantastic. We had this
Brazil?
No, Paris.
Paris.
Le Bourget.
Le Bourget.
Yeah, Le Bourget Airport. So yeah, the training was interesting. The instructor his name was Anton Russo. Strict, but very knowledgeable. Had a lot of time in the emergencies. I still talk to him to this day.
A French guy or a Brazilian guy?
No, he was South African.
Oh, South African.
Yeah.
Okay.
So he sent somebody up from South Africa. We did our ground school in Nairobi, did all the exams and everything, and then we went to Paris to go and do the flying. And we get there, and it's straight into the simulator, and it is grueling work. Like, I'm just learning everything. It's my first high performance aircraft. I used to fly Caravan before, took a gap. Now I've just come from the Baron.
The learning curve is quite steep. And let me, initial ratings, it's like you're in a tornado for a month.
Yeah.
It's just, we're in class, we're in the same emergencies, and we're practicing.
Yeah.
It happens, it's chaos. But then when you come out of it, you're like, wait, I actually know a bit of things.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's just left. I always say, if you're doing an initial rating and it seems very tough, show up, do your best. Just keep showing up.
Yeah.
Keep doing your best.
Yeah.
It works out. There's no one who does an initial rating like, it was such a walk in the park. It's never like that. So, so for an initial rating first time,
Yeah.
Who?
The first initial.
Yeah.
Oh no, yeah, no.
There's no one.
No, yeah,
The first time, of course,
Yeah.
once you've done one rating, you even know how to approach your next
Yeah,
rating.
the next rating. Yeah, exactly.
So
Okay.
that learning curve initially is for the first.
Yeah.
If I was to be given another rating to do, whatever rating, I think I know now what to look
what
for.
to expect.
Yeah.
Okay, I see what you're saying. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, that first one is it's stressful.
Very.
Yeah. So finish it, we pass, and I remember we passed like this. And I told Hassan, we're going to go and look at this. We're going to go and see Paris, So we had been given an extra day just in case, you fail, just to have.
Oh, remedial, huh?
Yeah. But since we didn't need it, we walked all over Paris. At that time I was getting into photography, so taking photos of everything. It was a lot of fun. Come back to Kenya, and my first interaction with the way the government system works happened.
This through the regulator.
Yes. So our entire training, everything has been certified by the Kenya Civil Aviation Authority. They have certified everything. They've said this training equals sour. Sour equals sour. Kabisa. You guys want to do what? Equals sour. Good stuff. Go. You come back and KCA looks and licensing.
PL.
PL. Straight into licensing. How could you do a type rating with 25 hours? What do you mean? See, we were told it was No. 25 hours is not enough for simulator.
Not at 40.
No, the one at 30.
30.
The minimum is 30, right? 30, 36 if you're not going to do anything in the aircraft. But KQ usually does, KQ and their philosophy is 40. But yeah. And there we are at 25
So are they
hours.
telling you to go back?
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
Please, my friend, can you go back, do your 5 hours, you come back. The stress. You're almost in tears. Right? You're almost in tears because this was like your parents gave you the money, you went to spend it properly, you passed. Now you're being told this is just not good.
Which means, of course, a financial top-up.
Yeah.
I must take a moment to commend our regulator. I feel like since the first time I've interacted with them, which is back in 2010, 2009, vis-a-vis now. Of course, it also what also changes that is where I am also in my career. But I must say they've improved. Yeah, they're not perfect, but they have improved. Like they listen. I'll say that. In fact, even I had a head of operations, Kenya recently, and he shared the same sentiment. He said they've started listening.
Yeah, that's true.
He don't seem convinced.
We're talking about and the reason why I told you I cringe when people start talking about the spirit of the law, versus the letter of the law, is because when people start interpreting the regulations in their own way, that's when you have those problems. So that's why I don't really like this whole thing for the spirit of the law. I like it to be, this is very clear, this is what it says, this is what we're doing. But now people start to put their own spin on things. That's when things start to go. I know the costs in aviation are so high. Like that initial training, 1.4 million shillings. I mean,
did you have to go back?
No, I did not.
To do the 5.
So we petitioned and we talked, and the company was kind enough to actually intervene. And the agreement became you can do the remaining hours in the aircraft. So I did the 6 hours in the aircraft. I did my Form 64, and that was done. But imagine, because I know somebody who had to go back. They recently did a type rating for a 767, and they were told, no, you got to go back. And they had to go back.
They're done the 25, or they're done?
They're done 30.
So told now go do 40.
They were told, now you have to do the touch and goes in the airplane. And they were like, huh? So they then ended up going to the UK to do them in the simulator. Then they came back and did one here and there. It was just confusion.
Chaos, yeah.
Yeah, just chaos. And this is all cost, This is all cost. So, yeah, they listen, but there's still...
The thoughts, views.
Yeah, there's still some people...
expressed by this podcast as well as its host.
Yes.
Are for entertainment purposes only.
Right?
So you get your rating and you start flying the 120, the E120.
Start flying what?
You don't surf like that?
No. I got my rating in November. I get my rating, it's on the license. I run into the company. I'm like, I have my rating. When do I start work? Now, we still have, Hassan has to finish his training. After he finishes, we'll call you. I'm like, okay, cool. November, December, January, February, March.
And in 6 months, you're due, eh?
April. Patrick, we need you. Come now. I was like, hey.
So what are you doing in this interim period? And your family look at you like boss?
The looks.
Like boss?
The looks. I remember I had this interaction with my sister. It literally destroyed our relationship. Like, to this day, we've never become as close as we were just because of just that one interaction during this time.
Do I feel like you've blown money? And
yeah. Like you said it was gonna work out. Now you've used resources that are meant for the rest of us to continue this flying thing, flying nonsense. It hasn't worked out.
Flying nonsense, man.
Wasted our money. That time my sister was just about to go to uni, so she was, she was feeling like
you're holding her back.
I'm holding her back.
Yeah.
Like these were her resources,
and somewhat rightfully so. Let's also not be so harsh on her because, I mean, someone who doesn't have an intricate understanding of this other side of things, who doesn't have your purview, no one wants to hear at KCA, no one wants to hear at the company. Yeah. You said this, and mind you, they told you this as well, so they want to see results. And
exactly.
So April, you start flying.
Yes, so I sat down flying the 120.
What routes are you guys doing? This is for which company?
This is for African Express.
Yeah. So
we're doing Nairobi, Galkayo, Mogadishu, one other place, and then back to Mogadishu. So for the next 2 years, my life is Mogadishu, Monday to Thursday.
What is Mog like? I've never been to Mog. What is Mogadishu like?
Mogadishu is, first of all, I like Mogadishu more than I like Sudan. Juba, 100%, every time. I'd pick Mog every time over Juba. Every time.
Even outstation?
Even outstation.
Okay.
So in Juba, you have more comforts. You have these bars, there's discos, you can move around a little bit. But the working environment is hostile. The environment is hostile.
That's true. And I hear Mogadishu also, I mean, it's a lot of tarmac. Better conditions, even
better
in terms
runways,
of infrastructure.
Better people. They listen.
What about safety, though?
Man, that place is safe.
Do you feel like you're desensitized?
No.
I find this about...
That place is safe. As in, like honestly, like even now when we go landing, I'll give you some videos to overlay, right?
Yeah.
When we're landing in Somalia, man, it is developed. There are buildings, they're building estates, they have electricity.
Beautiful coastline.
Yeah, they have electricity. Like they're fine. They're doing very, very well. The only problem is terrorism. And really,
it's a big one, though.
It's a big one.
Yeah, we can't say the only problem.
Yeah.
Terrorism, terrorism is huge, man.
But it's not as big a problem as...
Do you think it's sensationalized?
100%. 100%.
But I think it's, for anyone who's done outstation, you become... I remember before I went to Juba, you have all these preconceived notions, you've had stories, Juba is like this. But the human condition is to adapt. Before you know it, it's home. Like for the period that you're there, you're not really aware of what's really like the threat level,
Yeah.
So maybe there's also a bit of that.
Yeah, possibly. Because, my wife would watch.
Yeah, think about how your loved ones think.
Yeah, she'd tell me, there's been like 3 attacks this week while you were gone. I'm like, man, I didn't even hear about it. We're so busy working, So I don't know. I think, you're probably right.
And that's doing the round trip, because now you're flying the aircraft. That's always exciting, That's always, especially when you've done an initial rating. Sometimes it's almost like unbelievable. You're doing the walk around. You're looking at this aircraft. You're like, this is me. I'm flying it. Does that put all the stresses of now what you're facing from like FAMO in that interim in the back burner a bit?
Yeah. Because now we're making money.
Making money.
Money. we're making a lot of money.
Do you resist the urge to be like on some middle finger, like?
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, definitely. At this point in time, life has humbled me twice. Like, I am humble.
So your maturity index is high.
Exactly. Because if I had that kind of money when I was, if I had gone out of the gate, boom, 20-year-old, we're making like, I was making a basic of $2,000 after tax, and then I was making an additional like, $1,600 in allowances. Like you're making bank, and then your rent, you pay your rent $30K,
Yeah.
and you're in Somalia all the time, so you're not even eating anything. So you
$30K, almost living large.
I had a very nice apartment. I was very happy with my apartment.
You've talked about a mother-in-law, who at the time was a future mother-in-law.
Yes.
And of course, I know your family, I know your wife. At what point did she come into the picture in this crazy journey? Am I crazy? I mean, crazy, amazing.
Yeah. From jump, I mean, like, my upward trajectory started with her. When she came into my life, I was in a really dark place. I was in a really low place, and she just built me up very slowly. I'd lost I'd strayed from God. I wasn't going to church. So like we used to go for Bible study together. We used to go to church together. We used every Sunday church together, Bible study. We'd pray. She was always with me.
I love that, and part of this platform, I keep trying to emphasize how important wives are. People in this dispensation think it's a weakness to want to be single. I mean, want to be married and just do right by your wife. I see a lot of parallels in our story, different, but a lot of parallels, because I know the importance of how a woman can. When you say build me up, that's not a simple statement. That's a very profound statement. And someone who's watched your life, I can remember when she came into the mix and upper trajectory. Sometimes you also just need. It's like some form of security that allows you to blossom now.
Yeah.
You just become this magnificent person.
Yeah. Just somebody who just can somebody you can focus on.
Yes.
Because sometimes I feel like when you have too many options, then you
have too many distractions.
Exactly. You just misbehave. You're just left, right, up, down, causing chaos,
But describe the other lady in your life, and not I'm trying to get you in trouble. I'm talking about the aircraft, because aircrafts are commonly referred to as ladies. Mm-hmm. You've not talked about the experience flying the 120. What is that like?
In the beginning, I remember my first takeoff. The captain set the power. No, I set the power. The captain took over, and I let go of the brakes. And the plane went, and I was sitting there.
Aircraft left you.
It left me. It was 80 knots, V1, rotate. I'm like,
catching up.
Yeah. The plane is in the air. Now we're in the air. I'm like, 8, 10, 8. I was
1,000 feet, flap zero.
Yeah, and I remember it was so stressful because now we're flying in a place where there isn't a lot of structure, and I'm trying to learn how to fly this machine. So every day, everything is different. Every landing is different. The winds are shifting, and you're flying into visual airports, right? So you're trying to learn a technique, but every day the picture is different. So how do you master this technique? And I struggled. I think by the time I was clocking about 500 hours on the airplane, I just sat down with Hassan and I told him, this is not going to work. It cannot be different every time, So I just urged him. I told him, hey, for the next month, can we just agree to fly this airplane exactly the same way? Exactly the same way.
Some form of SOPA.
Yeah.
And SOPA means Standard Operating Procedures. And in the GA environment, sometimes, I'm not saying specific to African Express, sometimes the SOPA exists on paper,
Yeah.
you know, and of course when you have many moving parts in terms of your operating to very challenging environments, the SOPA exists for audit purposes, you know.
That's very true. So yeah, and so you have other traffic, and you have a schedule, and you have this. So today we're cutting a corner here. Tomorrow we're speeding up here, just to make everything work. And I'm trying to learn, and I'm not learning because today we start the approach at 3 miles. The next day we're starting the approach at 1 mile. You know, the next day we are starting at 10 miles. You know, so and there's no like system to make sure you're like an ILS system or anything like that. So I really struggled. Like it was. I was all over the place. But he agreed, and we did. So for the next month, we were slower, we were more methodical, everything was the same. And by the end of that month, I was good. Like I now understood how to handle the aircraft. It worked out very well. And that plane became, I still think to this day, it's my favorite aircraft.
Really?
Yeah.
Really modern compared to the times, the original, the Embraer 120 is quite advanced.
Very advanced. Reliable engines, very nice systems, good redundancy. The electrical system was a bit convoluted, but because they tried to like match it to a 737, and it's a very small airplane. But
how long do you fly the 120 for?
2,700 hours, 2 years, 3 years. Yeah, like we were flying a lot. So, yeah, amazing airplane.
After the 120, what's your next aircraft? What's your next job?
So, my season in African Express ended for reasons. And then
shout out African Express
reasons. And then I ended up in a company called Reliance Charters. I was there for about a year. I was the head of safety there for a year.
I remember when I was on the, I think I was I Tamaki or I was instructing?
Yes.
I used to come pass by.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Shout out to Christopher Mutuku. And then after a year at African Express,
So this is your first time with a post, because you said you were head of safety.
Yes.
That's your first interface with a post.
Yes. So, but we weren't flying. You know, this was during recertification time, so there was really not much to do.
Did you enjoy your entry level into post holding?
So first of all, this wasn't really my first time in a post, because I was a chief flight instructor.
Okay.
At what's that airline? What was that? Standards Aviation.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
With Captain Lucas
Njero.
Shout out Lucas.
KQ guy, yes,
Right.
yes. KQ captain.
Skipper. So
there's a story there.
No. It's all good. But
the reason I'm asking about post holding,
yeah,
I hope I'm not shooting myself in the foot. Maybe I'm a future CEO, but I am not. I've never had I respect post holders entirely. It's such a tough go. You know, I like the privilege of coming into work, doing my work well. My role designation as a first officer. You know, supporting the captain the best way I can, efficiently, safely, and once we finish the tech log, put the paperwork where it's supposed to be put, I can just go home and not think. The next thing I'm thinking about is my roster, not necessarily about, hey, have we done this? You know, KCA, hey, you know, there's an audit, hey.
Yeah.
And so I am from that breed, and some might say, I don't know, I look at it negatively. But what is the interest in post holding about? I've always been curious, because it's more work.
So I've never actually applied to a post. I've never actually interviewed for a job either, but I've never actually applied to a post. I've always kind of just been nominated or appointed.
That's a talent thing.
I think it's just, so I like to help, right? So if I see gaps in a thing, I'll be like, hey, I see a gap here. Do you mind if I maybe help you with something, do something, provide you something to close that gap, you know? And I think that has kind of led to me being more involved in documentation and procedures and creating procedures and stuff like that. And it just provided a very good foundation for these things. So with Reliance, we ended up rewriting all the manuals to become 2018 compliant.
It's a lot of work, man.
Yeah. So once I was done, that led me into Phoenix, right, which is where I'm till today. And I remember I just asked, hey, I'm looking for another opportunity. Is there something? And they said, oh, working on our manuals, you can come and write manuals. I said, okay, no problem. And I came and I worked on it. And
so don't downplay Phoenix, because Phoenix is a big. Anyone who's looked for a job, at some point you're even scared to dare apply, because I mean, at Wilson, Phoenix is a big company, man.
Yeah.
So what was your experience like joining Phoenix, man? Coming from Reliance, coming from previous employment,
Yeah.
I think Phoenix has more structures, perhaps more flying, different variant or different aircraft.
Yeah. So when I joined, I wasn't joining to fly. I was joining to write manuals.
Yeah.
And then see where it goes, right? I joined Phoenix when it was going through some changes, just like a phoenix, it's going through changes.
Rising from the ashes.
Rising. I don't know from ashes, but it was definitely rising. But yeah, some things that happened. It was the opening a new chapter. And I remember just saying, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this well, right? I'm going to put as much an effort as I can to make sure this is a good job, and then we'll just see what happens from there. And I remember, I'd show up at 7 and leave at 10. 7 to 10. First one in, last one out. First one in, last one out. Just working, and we had all these manuals. The OMA, Operations Manual Part A, which is now just general procedures. The Part Bs, the SOPAs for all the aircrafts. So we're talking about SOPA for King Air 200, SOPA for King Air 350, Citation Bravo, Citation Excel, Citation 7.
What do you reference when you're coming up with such?
So the SOPAs were already there. They were already there. But now we're updating them to 2018 regulations.
Like a retrofit, like a custom fit.
Yeah, not even a custom fit, but it's like just adding what's not there. The good thing about Phoenix is that they had been flying into Europe. So they're already, their standards, their books were already at European level. So now it was just add this, change this, tweak this, make it comply with this checklist. The one thing I'm quite proud of is when I came, all these manuals were very fragmented. Like there was this manual is for this aircraft, this manual is for this aircraft, this manual is for this aircraft, and I was lucky enough to actually harmonize them. Yeah, so I made sure that each manual for each aircraft is its own manual. So if you read this one, everything you need is in this one book,
Yes.
You can carry this one book and you're going to be okay.
Yeah.
Because before you'd have to carry 2 books. There was a Part B general, which had all the general procedures, and there's a Part B specific to the airplane. Now it's one book with a general section and then aircraft specific stuff, which I'm very happy worked out,
How long before they now you start flying an aircraft there? How long? What is the period?
So I worked with these manuals for about 4 to 6 months. It was about 6 months, and then so hey, it's a good time to talk about this. In my whole life, right, I have always been so lucky. I've always found destiny helpers. People who just out of their own, for no reason, just chose to help. Just chose. They had absolutely no reason to do it, So when I was in South Africa, there was a guy called Rob Pollock. I mentioned him. He went to flight school. Just chose to help.
Hassan.
Yeah, Hassan. Just chose to help. He had no reason. I was gone. This is somebody who we were friends, yes, but I was out of aviation. He could have offered it to anybody else, and there were many more people I'm sure who wanted that opportunity. Just chose, and then there was Captain Parkinson, our chairman, and he just chose. He just chose me. To this day, I don't know why. The man had never seen me fly anything, He never even seen me drive a car. Like, he didn't know how
He hasn't seen you walk.
Yeah. He's only seen me walk, exactly. Yeah. But he just chose. And so he'd call, like, I'd be working, and be like, hi, is this Patrick? What does our manual say about this? You know, because he knows I'm working on it. I'm like, just give me a minute. Yeah, so this is what it says. Send it to him, you know? Oh, Patrick, what is that? Hey, Patrick, what about this? Hey, Patrick, what about... And by the time the 6 months was up, he just woke up and said, hey, you know, Patrick, we want to get a pilot on the Citation Sovereign. So...
Put a Citation Sovereign on the screen, man. It's a beast of an aircraft, man. Right? Fantastic machine.
Yeah. So he was just like, I want you to fly the Sovereign.
So you skipped the King Air?
Bro, I skipped everything. The guy just said, I want you to fly the Sovereign. I was like, huh? What is this guy saying? Like, so I went to the guy who had recommended me for the job. His name is Njorge Wenyutu. He became our accountable manager.
Yeah.
Incredibly talented person. I mean, this guy he was in quality, you know, from KQ to DAC, Phoenix, and then he became the accountable manager. I mean, like, robust level of
stellar guy.
Thinking, you know, like just like the guy was. If you were talking about a guy who could manage a company, and he was young, he was younger than me. Like, I mean, this guy's maybe like what, 3-4 years younger than me. Okay, maybe 3, but just this maturity and knowledge and understanding of aviation, miles. So I go to him, I'm like, hey, this guy is saying I'm going to fly the Citation Sovereign. Like, what's that about? He's like, no. Don't even think about it. We're still discussing. It hasn't been decided. Nothing's been decided. I'm like, okay, cool. So I'm working on my manuals. Then one day,
a bit of imposter syndrome there.
Yeah, huge. I've only flown Embraer 120. Yeah. I've flown one turboprop for one company.
He's a jet.
He's a jet into one country. Yeah. Now you're telling me to fly this jet everywhere. You know, I'm just like, nah. So back into the books, back into the manuals, writing, working, just focusing on this. And one day Captain Patrick is walking past. He's like, Patrick, do you have a flash disk? I'm like, yeah. So come to my office. Comes, puts his iPad, plugs in my flash disk, copies some files. He says, okay, you have the manuals, go study. I'm like, like,
definitely there's something he saw. You know, sometimes we call it luck, sometimes we call it favor of God, sometimes we call it serendipity.
Yeah.
And definitely all those things are aligned because there's something they saw in when you were going about doing your manuals. I'm sure some of those calls, not all of them, the guy actually needed something. He was probably just seeing, where is this guy at?
Yeah.
And he probably realized this guy is quite a resourceful individual. Yeah. And who better? Yeah. So don't be too humble.
No, man. This one is all God. Nigod, man. Nigod. You know?
And the real one. The real Nigod.
Yes.
Not the Nigod for that billion.
Yeah, you know. So
you have the manuals now.
Yeah, I have the manuals. So I'm just trying to stay focused. So that time, our head of operations was a guy called Captain Maurice Ngugi. Amazing guy, wealth of knowledge. I mean, he was another like almost fatherly figure in my life. So he tells me, you know, Patrick, okay, you know, these guys it looks like they're being serious about the Citation Sovereign thing. So let's get you on the King Air. Let's see how you fly, first of all.
Let's see the DNA.
Yeah, let's see what you got, you know. So they put me in the King Air, a few hours here, a few hours there. I don't crash, you know. They're like,
thank God.
Okay, you know.
How did you fare in your estimation? Sometimes we're harsh on ourselves, especially when you're put on the spot.
On the King Air. So
which is easier to fly, King Air or the 120?
Oh, King Air, 100%. Yeah, King Air it's fun to fly. I really love flying the King Air. It's a lot. I have more fun flying the King Air than I have flying the Sovereign.
Really?
100%.
We'll get into that.
Yeah, 100%. It's you're in control of the airplane. You do this on the plane turns.
Yeah.
The Sovereign, you do this and the plane turns.
Fly by wire maneuvers.
No. It's big. So like in the dash, you have a lot of momentum.
Yes.
So you don't turn on a dime.
Yeah.
The King Air, you turn on a dime. You don't turn here, you turn here. So I've been given the manuals. I've gone and flown the King Air. So now it's time for sim. So now we've been told, okay, here's your bond. You look at the figures on the bond, you're like, this is a lot of money. But anyway, somebody else is paying it.
Where are you guys going for training?
States. So I have a passport, right? And I run quickly, get my visa.
Yeah.
No, visa is gotten. And then literally after I pick up my visa like this, the whole drama with the Kenyan government and the new passports came in. And the Kenyan government said, we will no longer recognize the old passport after this date. And that date that they're talking about is when I'm supposed to be traveling.
After you already have the visa on this side.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
I was like, no. So me and my wife, we quickly fill out the paperwork, to renew our passports. I was like, when we bring it, we might as well both do it. We go and get the new passports, and the Kenyan government just does what they do, and they say, psych, it's okay. We pushed by a year. They like to get the early adopters. They're like, hey, watch out. The time comes, they're like, psych, next year. So, went to the States for our initials.
Which state?
New Jersey.
That's
New
nice.
Jersey. Yeah.
Is that the only place they do sovereign training?
No.
So how do you guys zero down? I've always wondered, is it a cost thing, experience thing?
So we only train in two places. Yeah, we either train in CAE or flight safety. That's it.
We're two of the best.
Yeah, we don't play with anything else. So really, they wanted us to go to flight safety Farnborough, but they could not get us a slot. So the only slot that was available was CAE New Jersey, which is fine. It was amazing. Yeah, the training. So remember we were talking about earlier about book smart versus skills. That's exactly how the training is, America versus Europe, right? In the States, they're more focused on skills. Like you have to perform this maneuver within this level of accuracy this time. And it's same thing with the Dash training. That was also in the States. But in Europe, they're like, okay, you get to do the maneuver. If you don't do it, if you're not happy with it the first time, you get to do it again. In America, there are no do-overs. You do it once and that's it. It's done. I'm talking about like the check, the exam.
Yes.
So we go to the States. We do this initial.
Is there pressure? Because you are shortlisted, literally.
Not from management, but definitely from the other pilots. Because remember, there were other people. They've been here.
So some feelings were caught.
Oh. Rightfully so, though. You join Phoenix to fly jets, and then the next jet opportunity that comes up, this guy who walked in 6 months ago, he's going. Who's this guy?
Was there any explanation done to the rest to placate the rest of everyone?
No explanation.
Cartel.
Godfathers, all those stories came up, man. But
so let me leave here a bit. Where is room for exceptional talent at the expense of perhaps hierarchy? And that's a conversation that needs to be had generally, because sometimes...
What talent, though? You haven't seen me fly.
It probably showed in how you came up with the manuals.
Okay, so you know how to read a book. What does that got to do with flying on an airplane?
Coming up with a manual is no small feat, Patrick.
Yeah, I'm fine, agreed, but...
You probably don't want to say it, I'll say it for you. Coming up with I'm sure the time like, you'd have come up with the manuals then.
Yeah, no. Definitely, there's work there, definitely. But, I think, and this is the weirdest thing, right? Our chairman, it's like he can smell pilots. This guy's good. He's just like that. He
has a knack for identifying
Yeah, he has not picked a bad egg yet. There's nobody he's brought and we're like, this guy can't fly. No. Exceptional pilots. He brought a kid, not a kid, but a guy called Amit. And Amit came in and he was insanely good. Insanely good. Like now he's in KQ. But he just breezed through. He breezed through his initial. Now that's what I was thinking. That time when I was like, But okay, I don't know if it was really his initial because he did the Jeddah Bridge training in the UK.
Probably the MCC course.
Yeah, MCC. So he had seen a little bit of that.
MCC makes all the difference. In fact, sometimes people think it's a cash grabbing thing, but guys who've gone through it will say it. I mean, when they're going for an initial rating, they have the structure in their mind of what to expect.
Yeah, because he breezed through his initial training, so he was, and he could fly. He could really, really fly.
So how is the sovereign training?
It was a lot. And now you're learning how to fly a jet. The concepts are different. Characteristics are different, exactly. You've skipped small, you've gone to medium. It's high performance. I mean, this plane is high performance.
What's your ceiling? You guys you go for
47,000.
470.
470.
Wow.
0.8. 470.8.
Yeah, that's
80% the speed of sound, and you are zooming.
Yeah.
The only things that are faster than us are now you're in the Gulfstream territory, you're in the Challenger territory, you're in the global territory. Because we're quick and we climb. The wing on this airplane is very efficient. So you lose an engine, you're still doing 3,000 feet per minute. Like you're rocketing.
Yes.
Yeah, so now you have a whole, in the 120, you lose an engine, you're doing like 300 to 500 feet per minute. Like you are crawling, Now your considerations are different. Now it's like, hey, we're going to hit this altitude. I need to slow down. I need to bring back the power. I need to do this. I need to remember at 6, remember the missed approach in Jomo. 6,000, right turn. Right?
Tango Victor.
But what's the elevation of the airfield?
5'3".
5'3". 5'3" to 6,000. Yeah, 700 feet.
It's a moment.
But you're doing 3,000 feet a minute.
So you have to literally.
And actually, I'm wrong because the elevation of the field is 5'3". What's your minimum?
530.
530. So 530 to 6,000, 500 feet. Boom, you're doing the right turn. Yeah, but you can't even do the right turn because you got to hit. You said the 6,000.
So is that like a dramatic powering back, or what is that?
Yeah, you're all the way back.
Okay.
Yeah, but you also can't go all the way back because now you have asymmetry.
Yeah.
You've kicked, so it's a lot of things happening, and you just have to keep all these things in mind. It was a lot of learning, a lot of relearning. I got really lucky. I was paired up with Captain Naim Al-Harazi, skipper. Yeah.
Phoenix guy as well?
No, he was African Express, but he came back. He was in Phoenix before, then he came to African Express. Then now he's coming back to Phoenix. I call him Captain Kelele.
Yeah.
Because he's always yelling at people. We will not be late. His OTP is amazing. But yeah, so Naim, he basically takes me like a baby bird under his wing. It's like he's explaining things to me, taking me slowly in the same. Yeah, he had flown DC-9, he had flown MD-82, wealth of knowledge, So he just guided me slowly, and we got through the training.
You get to see Jersey.
I got to see, not really. I went to New York for a little bit. I saw Central Park. I saw, what's it called, Main Street, all the lights and stuff.
Times Square.
Yeah, Times Square. Yeah. Times Square, yeah. But not much, no, not really. I wasn't really. We were more interested in the shopping. In every single mall, we were just shopping. But yeah.
So you come back with a sovereign, which is I think you guys are the only ones with this type, right?
No, well, Amref, they have one.
And what's the main purpose of it? So is it Medivac? Is it VIP?
So we do both VIP and Medivac. I think Amref are trying to get into Medivac, into VIP as well, but this is mostly Medivac, yeah.
So how do you manage the nuances you just mentioned? Because companies have politics, and that's something that we can't deny. And you've said you've jumped the line, and you come back and you're rated. It's a fact. It's no longer an idea. How do you navigate the stairs? You know, like, this guy, why? And there'll also be guys who will just, it won't always be a thing of, man, Bonham. There are guys who will also be like, yo, man, congrats.
Yeah.
I'm that kind of guy. I wouldn't be bothered, man.
There were guys who were like that. I mean, shout out to Captain Kalsi. I mean, Raju Kalsi. Now I met somebody with such a clean heart. You know, just purely happy for
It's the easy way to live life.
Yeah.
Like be happy for someone, you know.
Yeah, I mean, oh my God, that guy he's so amazing. Just raw Safi, clean guy, you know. Came and says to me, congratulations, Patrick, I'm happy for you. You know, even us one of these days we're gonna get one of these jets. Amazing. You know. Yeah, so there were some people who are like that. Definitely. But you definitely start to get the feeling of
target on your back.
Not even what's that? You know the story with the multicolored coat. You know in the Bible.
The brothers.
Yeah.
They sold him
right?
off. Yes.
It's Jacob. Right?
Was it Joseph?
Jacob.
Jacob. The two Christians here, I don't know.
Right? You want to cut this part out.
It was Joseph.
It was Joseph.
Yeah.
Right.
Shout out. Hey.
Yeah, my mom is going to be so proud of you right now.
You've been reading the LeBron James version, so King James.
My mom will be so proud of you right now. Yeah. So Joseph, right, and the multicolored coat, that feeling, you know? Like everyone just look at you like, dude, you're the favored one. You know, like you don't deserve this. So
does that come with also pressure to now perform?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So now you're moving from Galkayo, Mogadishu now to a very diverse operation.
Now our destinations are different. Now going Joburg, now going Seychelles, now going Cairo. You know, you're going to Zurich, you're going to London Stansted.
Do you guys have like a rig, route information guide, like a OMC?
No.
So you guys are researching real
you
time?
Research real time.
Damn, okay.
Yeah.
That's different. That's a different experience.
Yeah.
Forces you to go back to like...
Oh, and let me tell you, Captain Naim, he taught me, that guy does research, eh? He goes all the way from the jet manuals into ForeFlight, reads the remarks. He'll go online, Google the airport, see what's happening there. He'll go on flight radar. The day of the flight, he'll pull up flight radar just before we take off and look and see what runway the planes are landing on. Like, okay, that's the runway we should expect. You know, like the guy is so prepared. You know, he's ready.
So are you doing, in terms of percentage, is it more Medivac or more VIP?
No, so we more or less did equal measure.
Because the reason I asked that is I've done a couple of Medivac before, and that was on the caravan from Juba to Nairobi. Man, it's high pressure, man. It's high pressure. Describe a Medivac for the viewer. A Medivac is air ambulance, but describe the experience.
So, so first of all, we have to make a distinction. There's Medivacs and there's Casevacs, right? So, Casevac is where it's time critical. The person is about to die. And we are going to do everything we can to get this person home safely, right? So that is a Casevac. When you're dealing with a Casevac, time is everything. Like no one is holding you back. They're like, go now, get this person, bring them ASAP, right? Medivacs are very different. Medivacs are very organized. So somebody somewhere has a need that cannot be met at that hospital. Right? So you're in Nairobi and you're being treated at Nairobi Hospital. You're not dying. You're very much alive. But whatever treatment you need is beyond the capability of Nairobi Hospital. Okay? So now, either because you have the finances or your organization has the finances or your insurance has the finances, a decision is made to move you from Nairobi Hospital to another hospital where you can get the care you need. Right? So that can be in South Africa, that can be in India, that can be in Europe.
Yeah.
Right? So now we need to get you from here to there. Right? So with the Medivac, the insurance companies they'll put out a bid. Everyone will send back, a quote. They'll pick whichever quote they want, depending on time. cost and type of aircraft and capability of that company, and then the flight will go.
What about the standby factor about you as the crew member? Not knowing, you can't know for a fact, Kesho, the day after tomorrow I have a Medivac at 6.
Yes.
How does that work in terms of rostering?
Okay, so like I said, with Medivacs, it's different, right? So with Medivacs, you'll know pretty early in advance, because by the time we know our bid has been taken. Now we have to apply for permits. So we're not in America. We have to apply for permits and landing permits and and overflight permits. So this is at least a day's worth of work. So you know it pretty much
Tomorrow
in a day I'm going to be doing this, right? But then there are the standby Medivacs now for certain clients we have that are closer, like in Somalia, right? Those contracts, that can happen anytime. Yeah. So I'll give you like an example of that is like yesterday, literally 5 o'clock at night, I get Medivac needed from Mogadishu, Within 40 minutes, the guys were airborne. They were heading to Mogadishu. So that one.
Is there a restriction on where you live?
No. There's a requirement to have a 1 hour response time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So within an hour, we need to be more or less moving, like either in the airplane going or starting up the airplane. So it's quick. It's quick. But for the longer trips, no, definitely there's time.
So you'll be flying the Sovereign to date? Like that's what you're still flying?
Yeah, I've been flying the Citation Sovereign. It's been from 2019 till date. So that's.
Tell us some highlights of flying the Sovereign, man. Oof. Experiences could be the aircraft. Because I want to come to the ferry you did after, but I want to talk about some experiences with the Sovereign.
So the places we have gone. I think watching the sunrise over India, that was pretty cool. Like we flew all night, landed at like 11 o'clock in the morning in a place called Chennai, India. Just watching the sunrise. Yeah, that was beautiful. Places going to Malta, Greece, that was pretty nice.
Yeah,
that was also very interesting. Where else have I gone? That's very, very interesting.
Any lowlights? Any hair-raising moments? Any? No,
actually, I've been very lucky. Never had an engine failure in anything I've flown. Like even the 120. I think the worst emergency I've ever had was a hydraulic issue. Heading into Cape Town, and that was pretty simple. Like we just shut off that hydraulic system, landed the airplane, left it there. We flew back to Nairobi commercially. The plane was sorted out within like a week, and our crew went and picked it up, brought it back. But yeah, I've been very lucky.
So at some point, like I said, I've been watching your journey closely. But of course, nowadays the way of watching someone's journey is social media, etc. At some point, you were given command.
Yes.
What was that experience like when being shortlisted and actually transitioning to command?
It was.
Were you an A4 par excellence so that you were shortlisted for command?
No, so I had a lot of experience in the airplane, and by the time I was being offered the command, I knew the airplane, like inside out. The way you know something almost to the point of you hear a sound and you're like, that's not normal. Like that's how well I knew the aircraft. I mean, to date, I've got about 1,800, 1,900 hours on type. So this is in our company, we don't fly that much. So
and you command 2 types?
Yes, I command the Sovereign and the King Air 200.
And you most recently did, which I want to get to because we were actually meant to shoot this earlier, but my good friend here had a ferry flight to do, man.
Yeah.
You flew a King Air from Nairobi, Jomo or Wilson.
Yeah.
Jomo, all the way to Greenland.
From Wilson. Yeah, all the way, not to Greenland, to the States, yeah.
To the States?
Yeah.
I hope you documented.
Yeah.
Describe a ferry, man. And
A ferry is
From
probably,
the planning to the going to the experience. I mean, doing the stops, the night stops, the fuel planning, different meteorological environments, considerations.
a ferry is the least pressure, but most pressure at the same time. Like at the same time.
And a ferry flight for the viewer is when an aircraft is being flown, either it's been bought or taken somewhere or vice versa. So it's being flown to the required wherever it's required, and it's usually without passengers. You're basically taking the equipment somewhere.
Yeah. So it was interesting. So we left Nairobi, Wilson.
Do you get nerves around such things?
No. I'll get to that in the maintenance. Our maintenance team is amazing. You know, part of the reason why this aircraft was even considered. You know, in a place like America, where you know they usually look at Africa as a place where airplanes go to die. You know, but the way we maintain our aircrafts is next level. Our airplanes are in pristine condition. So we left Nairobi, Wilson. We flew to a place we flew to Addis Ababa. You know Addis Ababa, everyone knows that. So we flew to Addis Ababa, spent the night. The next day, Addis Ababa to a place called Mar Asalam in Egypt, refueled. Then from there to Suda Bay in Crete. Slept. Suda Bay was very nice. I mean, if I was going to retire in Europe, I'd retire in Suda Bay. Tropical climate, very nice weather.
Is that time on a ferry? Is that time to take it in, other than like just the night stop or the day stop?
Well, so on this ferry, we were under no real pressure, but from what I've heard about other ferry flights or from other ferry pilots, there's a lot of pressure, because the client wants their plane like yesterday, and you have more work because this is your job. Yeah, you know, you're a ferry pilot. That's your job. So you literally deliver this airplane. There's another client somewhere else who wants another airplane, so you're moving, you know. So there's a lot of moving around, but for us, no real pressure.
Is that a career path you'd ever consider? Because I think it's my favorite content. Cockpit Casual, shout out Giordano, Captain Bob.
Yeah,
it looks like the most enjoyable kind of flying because they're flying amazing equipment, but in the most.
I would love to do it.
Chilled. Guys are in shots in a Dreamliner.
I would love to do it. It's impossible for us to do.
Because of our passports?
Because of our passports, because of our regulator. It's impossible for us to do. I mean, you keep in mind, right?
So you're telling me now,
yes,
you, with all your experience,
yes,
if Giordano watches this and just like, wow, that guy sounds like someone who's competent. He cannot employ you.
To do what?
To help them ferry.
Ferry what? I can only ferry 2 airplanes. King Air 200, Citation Sovereign. If he doesn't have a King Air 200 or Citation Sovereign to be ferried,
or
I cannot do anything.
The 2-type thing.
Yes.
What's that about?
It's
just for the viewer, to keep the viewer in the loop. In Kenya, we are only allowed to fly 2.
No. You're allowed to fly as many types as you want. The regulator wants you to fly only 2 types. They try to insist it. They try to make you put it in your manuals. They try to force the operator to take on that burden, but there's no regulation.
But recently had a discussion with the head of operations for Kenya Airways, and he said also in aviation there's something that's always needed to be considered. There's the maturity of the industry, you know. So in the more advanced industries, sometimes because of where they've reached, they know that certain corners may not be cut around things. Whereby perhaps we're not there yet in terms of our ethics. So if you let guys, maybe not in regulation, but just by oversight, let guys fly 5 types, you'll find maybe things are not being done above board.
No, and now just wait. So, in those mature aviation systems, right? They have everything is risk based, right? In aviation, everything is risk based, right? So you have general aviation, you have private aviation, general aviation, and air transport, right? So in a place like America, right, you can only fly 1 type for the airlines, only. And why is that? Because it's risk-based. You have 80 100, 150,
300.
300 passengers in the back. They want to know that all you're focused on is this airplane, right? So when you fly for your airline, you can only fly one type, right? And they will hold you to it. You will not be flying 3 types.
Even on the regional, you can't fly 2.
Even regional, because it's still air transport, right?
Okay.
Now, when you step down from there into charter, you can fly as many types as you want, right? But because people are paying you to fly them, there's certain checks and balances that have to be in place. You have to go to the simulator at least once a year. You have to do this, you have to do that, you have to do this. But they're also of the mindset that, hey, this flying is not cheap. These airplanes are not cheap. So in order for us to help this industry be competitive, right, we're going to try and make it as easy as possible for people to do this, right? So the pilot is responsible for their own license. They're responsible for their own training. But with that, you can fly multiple types. See, the cost is yours. You're the one who's paying for your own sim. The cost is yours. So how much can you afford? Can you afford to do a Gulfstream sim every year?
Yeah.
If you can, then do it. Can you afford to do 3 citation sims in a year? If you can, then go ahead and do it.
Sounds like a checkmate, kind of.
Exactly. And that's how they, because they've thought about it, right? They're like, this person, if they have a Gulfstream job, since the cost of the training is so expensive, they will only fly the Gulfstream. And they will be paid a lot of money to fly the Gulfstream, right? But this other person, since they don't want to do the Gulfstream, they want to fly the citations. The citations are cheaper, so they're going to do 3. And whatever citation is available, they'll do that.
Sounds like some very good thought process around it.
Exactly. Now, when you're flying your own personal airplane, fly as many as you want. It's you by yourself. No one is paying you. Everyone who's in there, they know you, and so
They know Pato.
They know Pato. I know Pato is a loose guy. So if Pato is going to, if I don't trust Pato, I'm not going to get into the airplane with Pato because it's private, right? And literally, you can fly whatever you want, do whatever you want. That's your airplane, right? Here we're so.
So how does that play into what Kina Giordano do?
So when you're doing a ferry, that's private. It's not for commercial reasons. You're not carrying anybody. You're literally flying the airplane in private category, right? So for them to fly in private category, all they have to do is something like 12 hours in a sim. And remember, this is the FAA, right? The second you do the last hour, you're good to fly. You don't have to wait for the people to go to KCA and for them to sit on it for 6 months and then for somebody to come and put it into your
Thoughts,
license.
views by this podcast, as well as its hosts, are for entertainment purposes only.
Only. You know?
So you as if you had an FAA license and Kina Giordano called you,
100%. Today.
but converting an FAA license, what's the challenge? Getting an FAA license if you have the means.
Well, it's a
Captain Bob, if you're watching, there's 2 guys here who would consider.
Already. Well, you see, so at the end of the day, right, it's about shifting your life path, right? So like already I'm on this life path. I'm making X amount of money. I've got this kind of a job. I've got this job security. I've got kids. I've got this. I've got that. I've got this. So, now to shift over into another path.
So it's not absolutely impossible.
It's not absolutely impossible, but man, I'd have to be very confident.
I really enjoy what they do. Some of the funniest things I see are, we have all these restrictions around personal electronic devices. Of course, us guys don't even get to use because our legs are short, so we would not even have a chance even if we wanted. But you'll see a guy, Captain Bob, giving a tour of the cockpit, and there's a guy there with his Netflix here. He's mounted it here.
Yeah, exactly. It's private.
That's always quite thrilling to see.
Yeah.
So you get your command, and of course, command is a whole different experience. It changes how you think because you're not the buck stops with you.
Yeah.
And this comes with responsibility as well as a very crucial part that sometimes people forget: culpability.
Yeah.
You're the guy, but you're also the guy. In case things go wrong, it was this guy.
Yeah.
So how's that been navigating that?
I'm still learning. I'm still learning. I'm still growing. I'm still trying to learn when to talk and when not to talk. Because
are you a warlord?
No, I'm not a warlord.
Would your Air Force say you're a warlord?
I would be very surprised if they say I'm a warlord. I'm a firm believer in allowing people to develop their own way. Like as long as safety is not breached, right? As long as we have like this minimum level of like standards, like this is a standard. But you want to tweak it. You want to tweak this and put your own style into it. Great, but don't break.
Don't breach the
don't
safety.
breach the standard, right? I have no issues. I have absolutely no issues. Yeah, and I think now the other challenge we have where I work is that we're very captain heavy, so we have a lot of PICs, very few FOs. So I haven't flown with a lot of first officers.
So when you're flying with a captain, doesn't that gradient skew? Or do you have to, in your briefing, don't you have to, when we talk about cockpit gradient, cockpit gradient is a thing where you always try to have a kind of a balanced experience level, that could be by way of hours, could be even by way of age, culture. There's so many things at play. Yeah. So when you end up flying two captains, what ends up happening is you have a flat gradient, and it's something you have to be very cognizant about because you can end up having a laissez-faire attitude, and he can end up having a laissez-faire attitude because we're two cappies. And there's room for error there. Yeah. So when you're flying two captains, how do you have to take special protocol? Do you have to brief differently?
Yes, but also I feel like a lot of captains, a lot of the captains I've flown with tend to be more on the authoritative side. Right?
Autocratic.
Yeah, autocratic. Exactly. So I tend to, and I'm very big on harmony. Very big. I'd rather just let things go to maintain harmony. As long as it's not a safety thing, I will not. You want to put this on the screens? No problem. You want your things to look like this? No problem. You want this paperwork to be done? And no problem.
Safety.
Yeah.
Safety is your.
Yeah, because at the end of the day, you don't. I don't. I find that it's counterintuitive to fight with somebody the whole flight, and then when the time is needed for you to speak up, they don't listen. Because the whole flight, you've had conflict after conflict after conflict. Now already the two of you're not listening to each other. Now the safety critical moment has come, and you speak, and the person completely ignores you just because they don't want. They've tuned out your voice.
Do you think the industry, as of today, 2024, here and beyond, have really improved on CRM attributes?
Yes.
Do you feel like the warlords are being phased out?
Yes.
the warlords are retiring.
Love to see it. That's why I became a CRM facilitator. It's because, so Mentor Pilot, I have followed Mentor Pilot from
in a small car room.
Yeah. Like I was watching him back in 2016, 2015.
With his grainy videos in the small room. Yeah.
When you talk about different concepts and different, because him and there's a website called Code 7700. When I used to feel lost in aviation, that's where I used to go to read. I'd be like, oh, so what does this mean? Okay, what do I have to think about here? Because I didn't, like, my intro into larger aircrafts was very abrupt. There wasn't really like a training program. So I really leaned on that on that knowledge for how to interact with the captain, how to do this, how to be assertive, So once I got the opportunity, I went to the UK and I did my instructional course in CRM, because I believe there just needed to be a better way to help people.
And I think a philosophy I've adopted around CRM matters, irrespective, because we're all different. I'm a different A4 from all my other colleagues. They're different captains. Of course, different personality types, but you can pick up something. As an A4, I always say you can pick up some good qualities from each and everyone's different style.
Yeah.
But now from captain, eventually now you're shortlisted and you are currently the head of operations elect, if I may say so, for your company, which is Phoenix.
Yeah.
And how has that journey been? Because that's not a small feat. That's not a small post. and you're older than me, but you're a young guy, man. That's a big responsibility.
Yeah.
So how did that happen?
I don't even really know how much I can talk about that, but I just recently found we had some changes in the company, and the head of ops became the accountable. So I was appointed as the incoming head of ops, and it has been a lot. So the position is, and I always knew this, which is why I never wanted it. The position is...
Sounds heavy, man.
Yeah. I mean, it is a hard job, when you're the chief pilot, you get to sit down with the other pilots and you get to talk to them and you get to, but as head of ops, your job is keeping the operation running, like it is when people are asking for feelings, you need to hit them with, facts, like, hey, I get it. You have flown early morning every day this week, but there's no one else, and you need to do this job, and you're within duty, you're within rest, you have to do it.
Yes.
And the person's like, no, but why can't but I'm tired, like I don't want to do it today. I understand you don't want to do it today, but are you calling in sick? Because if you're calling in sick, that's a different story.
So that puts you at odds almost immediately with your former colleagues now.
Man. And then and then the other thing is you because when you're on the flight line, right? You like you said, you come, you support your captain operates your machine or whatever, you fill out your paperwork and you go, right? You know what you don't see when you're at home, getting your minimum rest? You don't see the ops people who have to now come and collect your papers and now arrange them and file them and transfer that information from your handwriting into digital format.
Yes.
And then all the reports that have to be compiled based off your handwriting, and all of the flight hours that have to be recorded in digital format based off your handwriting. And then the tech log with the snags that now have to be deciphered by the engineers from your hieroglyphics, from your handwriting. You don't see that. Yeah, but I wrote in the tech log. Yeah, but what did you write?
On your fifth sector, tired against
yeah, what did you write? What did you write? But I recorded the parameters. Okay, like at what point did you record the parameters? Because you left it to the last minute and you did it on the descent. Well, now when you put it into the system, that system that's tracking the engines, it goes haywire. Like, these numbers are completely off. Like, what are we writing? When you're doing charters, right, and you're billing the client, well, you wrote down a 4, but you actually meant to write a 9.
So now you've underbilled.
You've underbilled, right? Yeah. So it's so much. Now when you're on the op side, now you start to see it, because now the finance guys are on you. They're like, hey, how long was this flight? Hey, how much fuel did they take? Hey, how come these numbers aren't matching with these numbers?
Would you say your sleep has reduced?
My wife would definitely say my sleep has reduced.
Any reward attached in terms of, is there any, we get fulfillment from the things we do in life.
Yeah.
Such a post, when you measure the cost reward analysis, so far, of course, because you also get stepping into the role.
To be very, very honest, so the former head of ops, the guy who's the accountable manager now, he did such an amazing job getting the company to where it is now. That guy, if you look at his list of accomplishments. This certification, that certification. He drove the company through multiple certifications, And yeah, sure, there's management personnel and they all play a part. There's other departments, they all play a part. But the largest burden in all of these certifications and audits and all this is on the operations department, right? What have you got written? What are you doing? How are you checking it, right? And when you're the operations department, you have your flight crew, cabin crew, and ops. And you have ground ops, or you also have ground ops, right? So you're talking about 4 different departments under one person, and they all have to be compliant, and they all have to pass an audit, and they all have to have paperwork, and they all have to have manuals.
And you have to maintain a standard.
Yes. Safety is just safety. He's got his safety manual. That's it. Quality, he's got his quality manual. That's it, right? But this guy's got 4 departments, and you have to make them all compliant.
I think by my approach whenever I look, because of course, people will have all their opinions about different figureheads in different companies, My first approach is always empathy.
Yeah.
Try walk a mile, not even a mile.
Yeah.
Walk 50 meters in the other person's shoes, and you're like, already you can't handle it. And this is just in your mind.
Yeah.
In your mind.
Yeah.
So when sometimes I hear people grumble and I'm like, you guys you have no idea.
You have no idea.
So I think
you have no idea.
Empathy is important.
It's very important. So even from before, when I used to watch this guy do his job, I was like, I don't want this one. I don't want. And people would be like, oh no, you can be the next head of ops. I'm like, I don't want it. I love going home. I love going home, switching off my phone, and chilling and watching TV and
doing a podcast.
3 in the morning. Yeah, 3 in the morning, dude. You watch TV until 3 in the morning. You sleep, no issues.
But switching gears from such a heavy, because we've chronologically captured your whole aviation story, and all the way to you being a head of operations, from little flight school where you record PPL into a bit of challenges into CPL and SA, coming back, getting your footing, entering GA to the point now you're the HO. But outside aviation, Captain Patrick, in fact, Patrick is somebody. You're a dad, you have other interests.
Yeah.
And there's this thing we call work-life balance that a lot of pilots fight for, and I think it's an important part of being a whole human being. So how do you maintain your work-life balance?
By going home. You just go home. That's step number 1. You go home. When you finish work and you are done with the flight, you go home. A lot of people, they have pressure. They want to go hang out with their friends. They want to go drink. They want to go party. You go home. Number 1, especially your family, go home first. Yeah, that's step number 1. Now, once you spend more time at home, already there's some improvement. You prioritize sleep, right? Yeah, sure. You've been working the last 4 days, and you left this thing on episode 4, and it was a cliffhanger, and you want to watch it.
Was every other time Kibe part 2? It's like finished part 1. It's like part 2.
Like hey, man, those guys were spitting facts. Like you want to watch this thing, but you go to sleep, right? You are sitting at home. You don't sit down and down a whole bottle at night. Maybe you have a glass or a cup, and that's it. And you go to sleep, right? Because a lot of the times we feel like we are missing out on so many things, so we overcompensate
during downtime.
And then when you're called up the next time, you're exhausted.
I feel pilots sacrifice, and not every pilot, a lot of pilots sacrifice a lot of time on the altar of either turn or bombing. Yeah. And you find you can do so much more with your spare time, be it family, be it your own personal interests, because I'm all about the duality of we're not just crew.
Yeah.
There's a whole other side to us.
Yeah.
And I think for you to finish your career with a fulfillment, you don't want to reach the end and feel like, wait, what was that?
Yeah.
What was all that for, you know? So I think it's important to also pursue the other things that mean something to you and give your family and the adequate time they deserve.
Yeah.
I want to finish off with a segment I usually do on the Airmen series. I want to find out your favorite aviation movies, leaning movies of all time. Give me your top 3.
Okay. Right up there. Number 1.
Start with 3, man.
Let's start with 3.
Let's count down.
Okay, that's counting up. Yeah. So counting up. Number 3. The one that I would be like, okay, this was a pretty good movie. I would have to say Pearl Harbor.
Pearl Harbor.
Definitely.
Put Pearl Harbor on the screen, man. Yeah. That's oh.
Pearl Harbor.
Are you going left or are you going right?
Yeah, you know,
Left, right, right.
left, right,
Yeah.
right. Yeah. So that's definitely number 1. Number 2 would definitely have to be Sully.
Sully.
Yeah. Miracle on the Hudson.
Miracle on the Hudson, man. Put that on the screen as well, man. I think
Great movie. Great.
that was a fantastic movie and a fantastic feat of flying. You
Yeah.
know, fantastic feat of flying, man.
Yeah. And then number 1 would have to be Flight. Yeah.
That makes 2 of us.
Yep.
So tell us why Flight, Patrick? Why Flight?
I feel like Flight.
Captain Whip Whittaker.
Yeah, Whip Whittaker. Right. I feel like Flight captured the airline pilot struggle perfectly. You can do everything right and everything possible, and it still won't be enough because your character is in question, right? It's not just about flying the airplane. It's not just about saving the day. It's about everything else, right? And so when you look at air crash investigations, they are going to go back. They will go back to high school. They will go back to flight school. They will go back to your first type rating, you know. They're going to look in your blood and look at your toxicology. They're going to look at your friends. They'll look at your phone. They'll look at all your texts, you know. And that is when you're most exposed, you know, most exposed. And so it is the truest picture into what being a pilot is, and especially an airline pilot, because it's not just about, oh, yeah, you saved everyone's lives. You know, great.
But you saved it on us. But yeah.
Exactly.
Who do you think did a better job acting wise? Because I'm a film connoisseur, and between Tom Hanks and Denzel.
Oh, man, it's Denzel.
Denzel, man, he acted his ass off
every time. Denzel acts his ass off every time. He is an amazing actor. Yeah. Have you watched Fences?
Yes, that's the one it's a play.
Yeah, it's one based on the play.
Yes.
Love that movie.
I hear someone was actually encouraging me to go watch Gladiator. They said it's worth my time.
We should go watch.
Yeah.
Let me know because I told Madame we have to go watch.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely. If this doesn't fit in the movie thing, but if you are a big series guy, Masters of the Air.
I haven't seen that.
Oh, you gotta watch it. It is amazing.
Masters or Masses?
Masters.
Masters of the
Air. It is the band of brothers for aviation.
I'll check that out.
It's that good, yeah. It was so good. I got a DVD for our chairman. I got him the book, you know. Well, yeah, I haven't given it to him yet, so I don't know. Hopefully it'll be there at that time before this podcast comes out. But yeah, it is the story.
And lastly, most inspiring pilot of all time, and this doesn't have a time limitation. You can go all the way back. I always say you can even go back to the Wright brothers and say,
Well, so I actually know my most inspiring pilot of all time, and I would have to say that it would have to be Captain Jama. Yeah.
Talk about him a bit.
So Captain Jama is a former KQ training captain, fleet captain. I mean, he's a KCA inspector, he's an AAID investigator. More certifications than you can even shake a stick at. You know, he's done it. You know, he is an aviation guru. He's a true aviator. You know, like professional, just and a great guy to be around. Mentors so many people. He's really an inspiration. You know, definitely. There are other very notable ones. I mean, my cousin being one of them. Captain Paul Njorge. you know, listening to him and his friends as they transitioned into Kenyan aviation definitely lit my path up ahead, you know, and he's done great things. But when I say like the person who really inspires me, like I'm like, I want to be this guy. Like when by the time I'm at the end of my career, I want to be like this guy, Captain Jama, 100%.
Ladies and gentlemen, Captain Patrick Gikandi, what a pleasure it has been, man.
Thank you, bro.
Thank you so much for coming, man. Your story is an inspiration, not just to me, but to many, man. I've watched your career path closely, and there are times when I felt like giving up. I looked up to you in many ways, sometimes directly, sometimes indirectly. Like I just be like, you know, keep trudging on, and I'm so grateful for all the advice you've offered me over the years, man. It's been quite something. I'm forever indebted to that. You can say something to my very fantastic viewers.
Jumbo, thank you so much for watching this podcast. It's been I feel so fortunate to have shared my story with you guys. And I will tell you for free that whatever your path is, life happens, right? And we just have to keep moving forward. We just have to keep focused, and we just have to keep close to God, and things will just work out. You know, whatever struggle you're in today, it's not the struggle. It's not the end. As long as you're still walking, as long as you're still talking, as long as you're still standing, there's tomorrow. You know.
Every other time with Eric, Captain Patrick Gikandi, it's a wrap. If you haven't subscribed, subscribe.